pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Sing this part.
Oh, you're early. You're wrong.
Yeah. It's
1 minute.
What's that?
6:59. That's early.
Okay, this is what I was going by.
So that one needs to be fixed.
All right, we'll fix that for the next meeting. We're started. Good enough. Okay, roll call. Michelle,
Here.
Annie,
Here.
Brett, Justin, Tim.
I did find an. Oh, not the sorry. Go ahead.
Move to adopt the agenda with addition of employee pay under continuing business.
Is that something you want to discuss in an open meeting, or is that something should be discussed behind the doors?
That's maybe a combination of both. Yeah. So, yeah, let's go ahead and just add a 10-minute for personnel, if that's okay with everybody.
Executive session.
Yep.
And you want to put it right before adjourn?
Yeah, yep. That would be great.
Okay.
So I will amend my motion as such.
I'll second.
Okay, anybody else? We have a motion to approve the agenda as written with the addition of a 10-minute executive session just prior to the adjourning of the meeting. Any discussion? All in favor? 5-0, it's approved.
I'll move to approve the minutes except for, we left out a council member's name.
And John Taylor's because it's not on there either. Last page, top paragraph.
Where's yours at?
Brett Kimball, council member Brett Kimball moved, seconded by council member nothing.
Okay,
Two places of the way.
it's on the second page, almost halfway down.
And then
No, it's on the last.
in that same sentence, it says, and provide him being John Taylor.
Yeah, John Taylor's not mentioned. To have John Taylor place the buoys.
It's on the third page.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're.
Yeah, the bottom of the second page, it does say stated John
I just
Taylor.
thought because the
Two
motion
of them.
there.
Yeah.
And where does John Taylor go in that paragraph?
One page over.
No, I thought he said right here
No,
on
it's
the same paragraph.
No, I was just,
Okay,
It should be both.
Yeah.
Well,
You
yeah,
don't know who he is, so it should be both.
he and that paragraph and the one that you had before is the he. No,
you're gonna change him to John Taylor? Is that what you're doing? The word him to John Taylor? Is that where it's going? I just want to write this down.
No. So basically, it should say Councilmember Brett Kimball moved, seconded by Councilmember whoever it was, to have John Taylor place the buoys at Lake Wabunsee. That's just what's missing from the motion. It is in the previous paragraph, but it should be in there too.
Okay.
And I second with those changes.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes with the additions. We have a second? I think we did we not?
Yes.
Okay.
Kenny did.
Okay, any further discussion? Those in favor? Those opposed? The favors have it. Has everyone had a chance to look over the appropriation ordinance?
There were some checks that were added today at the very end. Page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it says page 1 at the top, so it's the very last page.
Move to approve appropriation ordinance 1496.
I second it.
We have a motion to approve ordinance 1496 with a seconded by Michelle. Any further discussion? We have a roll call vote. Michelle,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Justin,
Yes.
and Tim.
Yes.
Okay, first up is public concerns or comments. Does anybody have anything to comment about that's not listed on the agenda for later on? Okay. Next up is department reports. We're gonna start with Mike Bone, Utility Superintendent.
All right, guys. Just a little bit on about each aspect of our utilities. Starting with sewer, Drew and I met with Kramer's last week to go around, finalize some locates on where gas lines were and to locate a few manholes that were buried, so they could inspect those and get GPS location on them. It's going into final design now. It's been started. They're going to get this in there and finish. Kyle's going to finish drawing everything up here over the next month or so, I would anticipate. Looking at this project, we started this a long time ago. Actually, we started raising our sewer rates, I believe, in 2014 or early 2015 was when the first resolution was done in anticipation of this. So this is pushing a 10-year build up to this project. Just a number that I got the other day when I met with the state on a bridge project. The state's using 14.1% right now as an inflation rate, figuring into projects that they've had engineered and they've had cost estimates on. In our case, I think we started around 4.2 million, and then at one point it was 4.6 million. So this could translate into a $600,000 to $700,000 cost increase on this project. Of course, that right there, 600,000-ish would have been a CDBG grant, the entire thing. It's a pretty small drop in the bucket at this point, but still working with USDA. There's more infrastructure stuff coming down the pipe to keep an eye on. Who knows what'll come up, what'll pop up. We're still going to proceed to final design. We've got the contract to do that with the engineers, and nonetheless, we'll have plans on the shelf. But at some point, with the TV work and the information that they have drawn this design with, will not be accurate if we just say, well, you know what, we want to wait 5-6 years. We're going to have to go back, re-TV the entire system to see what else has happened, what's changed as far as what type of rehab we need to do. So I guess we'll see what cost estimates they come up with, because of course, USDA, it's American Pipe and Steel, stuff like that. I mean, we've got to buy American, but there's nothing wrong with that. But the steel's higher quality, everything costs more as far as all that. But wastewater, we had sampling done last week. Of course, I don't have any results from our actual wastewater sampling in Eskridge. Our backwash lagoons, which we just monitor the effluent for total residual chlorine, total suspended solids, and pH. The residual chlorine they took on site was 360 parts per billion. Our permit limit is 100 parts per billion. Again, we're talking about very minute levels of chlorine being released in that, and it's hard. I don't know what the TSS was, which is the clarity of the water, how many suspended solids. If that was up, I know we backwashed that morning. If that was up, it creates turbidity, it darkens the sample. Chlorine is a color sample. I don't know how they can take a color sample in turbid water. I've been arguing about this forever. It will be a failure on our wastewater reporting. Of course, we're not going to meet our permit limit. I put my reasons in every time. It shouldn't be an issue, but we've been using vitamin C, I believe, what is it, acetic acid or ascorbic acid, to dechlorinate this water, because there for a while it was horrible. We're still using the tablets when we backwash, stuff like that. At one time, we did mix a liquid that injected with the chemical pump. We hadn't been using that. We hadn't needed it. We're going to work into getting that back on and mix up this concoction to inject drip system with a chemical pump as far as our process effluent coming through the plant. On the water side, our high service #1 pump, which is one of 2 redundant pumps that sends water to town, to the towers. The clear well, it pulls finished water out of the clear well, sends it to town. #1 has failed on overload again. This pump was in and rewired by Topeka Electric once. It worked for about a week. It had some failures, went back in. I believe they found a lead that was burnt on that motor. I'm not so sure they didn't go ahead and rewind the motor for free a second time. It's worked for about, I would have to go back and look. I'm guessing 4, 5, 6 months now, flawlessly. The other day it started throwing overloads and it will not run. Had Alexander's come out, tested all of the wiring coming from the plant, the variable frequency drive, everything's functioning good. We're getting voltage out there. He put a megger on the motor. He megged the winding. The winding tests good. He doesn't see anything in a lead, but he's suspecting it amps out almost instantly at like 60 amps, and the motor will move about 1/8 of a turn and just stop. So he's thinking there's a lead issue again. Hopefully this week they're going to come out and pull that pump, and we'll get it into Topeka Electric, have them do their testing and see what's going on there. It's a 30 horsepower high-speed motor. They're rather oddball. I mean, they make them nowadays. I'm sure there isn't one sitting on the shelf. Depending on what they say, I may try to source a new motor to have, or possibly put on high service number 2 and have high service number 2 rebuilt. Both of those high service pumps, which number 2 has not been rebuilt, it's got over 50,000 hours, I think 50, 60,000 hours, which we're in past a 10-year span on it as far as hours go. And looking at that future asset management, when do we just take something offline and, you know, make sure everything's fresh? That's what I'm worried about there, because if it were to fail, it's calling Alexander's and they're going to pull a rabbit out of a hat and figure out how we're sending water to town, which they are capable of, but we don't want to have to get into that. That's why we have redundancy on that type of stuff. As far as gas goes, had our 2021 records pipeline inspection, I believe the last week of May. Everything went good, got through it pretty quick. No probable non-compliances came up. They're finishing an off-site inspection of our new operation and maintenance plan. We had to put some stuff in there that the government threw in on the Pipes Act. Yeah, about methane reduction and leaks and how you'll purge a pipeline to reduce letting off any extra gas or whatever into the atmosphere. It's very, very minimal to us. I think everything should be fine. I got all the wording in there like it needed to be. Met with KDOT last week for a bridge replacement just south of Eskridge on 99. We have a gas line in a right-of-way where they will be expanding that right. Actually, we're in private easement. They're going to be expanding the right-of-way for a shoe fly and for existing. Just take a little bit more ground there when they do that, so they always have a place to work on things. It will be a shoe fly. They're not going to do an offset for the bridge, which is good. Everything will still be straight there. We will have to move our gas line to the east. I don't know how far yet. There will be some temporary easement they're going to purchase and then give that back to the landowner. So I don't know. I definitely want to make sure we're in private easement. Again, if anything ever comes up, if we're in private easement and somebody needs it moved, they pay for it. If we go in the public easement, which is really easy to do, and it never needs to be moved, we have to pay for it. I spoke with the landowners. Shouldn't be any issue to get a new easement there as far as that goes and the routing. Once they contact us, they're guessing they want 6 months. By the time they say, okay, this is where we want it, this is where it's going to need to be, it's going to have to be engineered, let for bids with completion, they say within 6 months of when they tell us. I asked for, once the utilities division contacts us, I talked to 2 of those guys out there. I said, the sooner the better. You know, I mean, as far as getting stuff, it's a 6-inch line. We're going to have 6-inch HDPE pipe. Steel transitions back and forth, because it's going to tie into some of our old existing steel on each end, no matter how much we replace. Plan to use Kramer's for that. It's pretty simple and straightforward as far as the engineering goes. We'll probably want to add to that project a little bit to extend what portion we bury and go a little past to get in a better spot where we end. We're already going to be there. We're going to be dug up. We're going to be doing another hot tie-in to our above ground, see if we can afford to go ahead and get rid of a little more of that on our dollar with our reserves. Just kind of see how that is. The state is planning on letting this bridge for bids February of 2024. They were guessing the first part of 2023 is when we would be contacted to start the process on the gas. Move it. Street and alley, we've hauled some rock. The quarry is crushing now. We did haul some rock stockpile. We hauled some to the lake just a little bit and kind of worked on some stuff over in the east part of the Pines, where it holds water. We do have some at the shop. We put a little bit around town, just kind of waiting. So we had something before they ran out. Drew did a lot of gutter and street cleaning just with our pickup broom sweeper during the wet weather, back and forth. He started patching asphalt today. Our cold mix actually came back to life pretty good yesterday and today. He got baked off pretty good, and he put down a couple of spots that were pretty bad today that were pretty thick, and it seems to be holding all right. We will need more of that probably sooner than later with the amount that needs to be done. I'll be getting with APAC to see how much of a difference there is in that mix that we've been using for the last 4 or 5 years. And over to the lake, we have, as you guys talked about, some help between the rains, weekends, evenings, kind of off times, mowing out there around the entrance and stuff. That's helped out a lot as far as a lot of the rains coming during the day and during the week. Been able to work on some tree trimming, getting stuff back up where it should be, and some of the dam maintenance on that, get some of those saplings done. Things are growing hot and heavy right now. Try within the next couple of weeks to get a lot of that sprayed. A lot of that brush and stuff sprayed in the small trees to knock that back.
When you guys are out there spraying, can you come around the big house and the bathrooms and stuff?
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
on my list.
We've got to do all that at the water plant too. Yeah, we've made it around town a couple times, but yeah, haven't
We
made it
are
up
in
there.
dire need of rock from TL1 to TL5.
That's their decision. That's couple hundred tons of rock probably. So that's not something I can just do.
While we're on that spray in there, between the bait house and the beach, there's that little corner there that's overgrown. Weeds are about this tall. It's a pretty big triangle right there. If you can hit that spot, you don't want critters. I know snakes like to hide right there.
Oh, I got you.
And fill the council in on the condition of our current boat and the status of it, and maybe brief them on what you and I talked about 4 weeks ago, and possibly selling it and getting a pontoon boat that
Oh,
we can
yeah.
use for.
I forgot about that. I'm glad you brought that up. The prop off of being resurfaced, figured we were going to have to buy a new one as bad as it was. Turns out, I guess they can do all sorts of stuff. It was like $240 or $50 to take one that day. I think it was the first to last week when Jim got it in. To Topeka. They said, or if you didn't need it like then, about 7 to 10 days, it would be, they could resurface it for $100. So I said, absolutely, just resurface it. We'll get it on. I have no reason to believe that the boat won't run. It's becoming, the interior's shot. It's getting some age on it, stuff like that. It's had fairly rough use by quite a few different people. We had talked about it. I know I've kind of brought it up in the past about a different boat, something maybe with a flat deck, as far as moving buoys, carrying weights out, stuff like that. That boat, it's not. Last time we did it, we just kind of drug them from the boat ramp. We have loaded them in the boat before, which isn't good on the boat or the interior because it's not flat. But maybe trying to find a pontoon boat, something like that,
And the
smaller
current
boat.
boat's not really safe for moving those things either.
No,
So
no.
that was an issue. of
Yeah,
mine.
yeah,
Okay.
because you're getting them in. It's a ski boat. That's what it is. It was made for a control boat.
And in reality, I think the current boat that we have would be ideal for water enforcement, but it's not ideal for what we need to do maintenance wise on the lake. So we thought, get the boat fixed, maybe we could sell it, use the funds from that boat to apply towards a flat boat or a pontoon boat, something that we could use that would work.
And even at a better time of year, if we just didn't forget about it, not the prime buying season, but depending on what needs to be done, you're obviously going to have somebody give a hand on some of that stuff this year.
And that's not something that's urgent that we need a boat this week, for example, something to keep in the back of your mind, maybe prepare for it for down the road. But we can't sell a boat in the condition it's in, so we had to get it fixed. Any comments, any questions?
My question is,
we
what
do need a
size is
boat
the
now.
engine on the boat that we have now? And if the boat is it worth just taking the motor off of that and putting it on a pontoon boat that we could find that doesn't have an engine?
It's an inboard, actually. It's a Merc Cruiser. I believe it's like a 305. I don't know the horsepower. So yeah, and it's got, you know, the outdrive and stuff on it. So
Yeah, I
it's,
didn't
it's,
realize that.
I mean, somebody would need to do some interior work, stuff like that to it. I mean, it, as far as I know, I haven't had it since last year or anything. I mean, it doesn't leak, hopefully. I mean, I don't think the hull has issues at this point.
And now's the time to sell it.
And to respond to the comment that I just heard, yes, we do need a boat now, but we haven't really had one to use the last several years. Unless you guys see an urgency that we have to have one as soon as possible, then we'll address that.
I don't see an urgency, but it would be nice to be able to drive around the lake and, you know, if something floats, we're out there that's not supposed to be there, like that. I don't know, that barrel's kind of out of the way, but
Kayak.
something that we could go get or check to see whether people have permits or not, because it's kind of hard to tell from, you know, bait house.
Well, I'm not sure if everybody's aware or not, but we do not have a public officer right now. Sally had to resign. I know that the council was notified, but I don't know if any of the public got wind of that or not. Did we put a advertisement up around town for that?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's flyers.
Okay, and as far as I know, nobody's applied for it. Okay. So if we don't have a public officer, who's gonna operate the boat? You go check on these things.
I'm only saying something because I've sat here for how many meetings and you guys have been complaining about buoys that are not where they need to be and that boat is unsafe, and you don't want those people carrying those buoys in that boat if it's that unsafe. We don't need somebody drowning. But it seems we do need a flatboat for them to do that with some decorum of safety. That's why I asked.
Right.
Saying, yes, we do need a boat.
Okay, all right, well, that clarifies that, but yes,
Terry, Julie said that Tammy Wire has a pontoon boat for sale.
that's something we'll look into. We'll look into it. We're not gonna just make a decision right now that we'll go buy it,
If it's a good price.
but it's something that we need to consider. And yes, we do need a safe vessel for our employees to not only check for boat permits and dock permits and everything's in conformity with what our rules are for the lake, but also for the safety. Number one, basically for me, is for the safety of the employees when they're moving in buoys. So I think I'm going to suggest that we start looking. Everybody in agreement with that? Anybody have any further thing you want to question on that? Because we can start looking.
In my opinion, as fast as we can get the other boat running and polish the turd, sell it.
Yeah, I mean, we can look at having, like I said, I mean, I would guess within a day
We were
or two,
raising
we
the
should get a
value.
call about getting the prop back. I'm sure we've got samples taken this week too, so we get it back. Like I said, I'll put the muffs on it, get it fired up and make sure she doesn't overheat, make sure the water pump works and oil pressure is good and all that stuff.
And let's get an estimation on the value of it too.
Yeah.
I don't want to sell it for $50.
No, we can do it for bids. Of course, Purple Wave it's no reserve, government or not. It's absolutely no reserve. An auction company called Gavel Roads, they're trying to start up, reached out to us. They don't have near as much stuff as Purple Wave, so they don't have quite the following and the customer base, but they will allow a government agency to put a reserve. So that's always an option. I think depending on what your reserve is, they charge just a little bit. If you do no sale it and doesn't meet reserve, they charge you just a little bit for the listing. But I mean, even if it's $100, that's better than selling your boat for, you know, $1,000 or whatever, when it's worth way more than that.
Have you
I don't know,
talked-
maybe it's not.
I'm sorry, have you talked to John Taylor much about the buoys?
A little bit, yes.
Trying to find how much she told me. I think it was about $370 per.
For new
Does
boots.
that sound right?
I even looked at the ones on that are up at the bait house. Two of them are okay, just needed new chains and.
Yeah.
But one of them I've got a big hole in it, so it's
Yeah.
useless. And there's a couple of them out there that actually just need put back where they belong.
You're right. Yeah, and that happens too.
I talked to John too, and it was 400, I think, right around there, Tim, what he said for each.
That's just by the buoy, and then he said that he was throwing you under the bus, I guess, saying that you would know what.
Well, and
did.
I did when you had asked on a ballpark. I mean, you figure you've got about what is a bag of concrete, $6 now or something. I don't even know, should be less than that, but I'm guessing around $6. The chain, I did price it, it was exactly $2 a foot and $35. So it's about $70 for the chain. Bag of concrete-ish, maybe a little over. I bend a little rebar thing to hook the chain to that gets poured into the concrete in the bucket. So it's about $80 an anchor. So that was about what to figure on each anchor.
So close to $500 per buoy.
Yep.
And I think what I'm trying to go off memory, I'm trying to scan through our conversation real quick here, not getting, I think he said we need 4. We should probably get 7.
He did mention that to me. He thought we could get by with 4 to get everything marked where it should be. I mean, of course, everybody wants a buoy. The more marking, the better. But
Yeah.
but yeah,
Do you see any feasible way of getting these in place before the 4th that weekend?
I don't know the availability of them. I don't know if he checked on that.
I guess that's,
Not
he sent me a company.
Overton's.
That doesn't sound right. Tailor made, sir.
Mike,
Yep.
when we anchor them down, it's like a 10-gallon bucket filled with concrete, right?
5. Yeah.
5.
Mhm.
Is there any way that we could get like a heavier one? Because when I was talking to him, I was talking specifically about the one that's over kind of by Jerry Har's, so that one over there.
Mhm.
And he was talking about how it moves around a lot. So if it had a heavier bottom to it, would that help? Or
It is, and the design they used to use, of course, the bucket had the concrete or the rebar piece that came out. We bend a loop on it and weld it to attach the chain to. And we'd also put rebar through the bucket, so it was like spikes coming out. So if it started to drift, those would dig. Number one, it was really gnarly to throw them off. We tried that once in our boat. We used to borrow a pontoon boat to slide those off the side. Tried that once. It's like, yeah, that's too much stuff sticking out. They would get hung up on a lot more stuff. It was good that maybe they wouldn't move as far, or even in the ice in the winter, it wouldn't drag them, but they would get hooked on stuff and we could not pull them. To use cable, and we'd have to cut the cable, which it should fall to the bottom. That's why we started using chain. It was safer to throw the chain off. And if the anchor gets stuck, the buoy breaks away from it, the chain just literally falls to the bottom of the lake in a little pile. So there isn't a piece of cable or something floating around. That's kind of how that's evolved. We quit doing the pokey rebar coming out the side for the fact of somewhat, if they drift off, you can drag them back. They don't get hung up. And even if they go into deeper water, I started doing 35 foot on each anchor. We used to try to shoot depth and make a certain length for a certain spot on the lake, but then you'd have to figure out if they did get moved around where they belonged. About 35 foot on each one around the rim. There are parts that are around 40 still, I think. And if it does float out, it will float that bucket. It'll float the buoy short and then it'll get over to an edge where it hits again, but they're easier to reset. I don't think they move a lot like every day with boat traffic. I could be wrong. I've never noticed that. Like it's not going to move 50 feet a day just because of boats, but over time they move around, but they're way easier to reset too. Because resetting them, literally we make kind of a lasso out of a piece of ski rope and rope the buoy and drag. So with the boat off a cleat.
And how many buoys are we talking about? Meaning
4 to 7.
how many?
4 to 7.
4 to 7 at 500 apiece. And we have money set aside now from the lake funds to repair the retaining wall at the swimming beach. Is that correct? And how much money is left over after that's been allotted?
Well, we have the new bid,
Well, we haven't gone over that yet. We don't know.
right?
But there
So
still
the
should
bid
be
is
money
different
left
from
over
last
from
year's
this last
bid. So
this last budget thing, right? There should have been money left over, not counting what's coming up. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I will discuss it here. I'll keep that in the back of my mind. Okay, anybody have any questions for Mike?
Just to clarify real quick, not necessarily for Mike, but we need 4 that need to be planted. What the other 3, it's kind of whether or not they must be in the water or if they're for spares. If we don't need to plant all 7, then that's going to cut the cost back a little bit on the anchors for those other ones.
What's the lifespan of those things?
I would say 5-ish years, depending on abuse, before, the sun takes its toll. They do get a crack. They do take on water. I mean, they'll start to float low. I mean, they've got some stuff in them. I tried foam filling them once, thinking that would buy. I don't know that did any good for the paint it was. But yeah, I would say 5 years ish.
Okay, well, when we get into budget, we'll talk about that and plan for something like that for the future. Okay, for replacing those.
Yeah, that's all I had. I do have one other thing that I could bring up now, or I could go ahead and bring it up in purchase requests. I would like action on it tonight if possible. It's about the AMI water meter deal that we've been looking at for a while.
Let's talk about it after Stephanie's
Sounds good.
report. Okay. Okay, are you finished
I believe I am.
for the moment? Okay, all right, Stephanie.
A couple things. You guys have a couple letters. The one is from John Taylor. He's just letting everybody know that July 2nd, they're having their second annual side-by-side. I think that starts here in the park and then goes to Lake Wabunsee. And then he's requesting a porta potty for the southwest corner of the park, if you guys would allow that. And
He's
then
requesting permission to put it in.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I think they're gonna.
Approved.
We're bringing it up. Is anybody familiar with this run and where it's going to go? Is it going straight from the park straight to the lake, or is it going to
It's on
around the
side
countryside?
roads. Side roads.
Side roads from here to the lake.
Yeah.
It usually takes like a Hessdale route out that direction. Back there.
But from here, how's it going to get to Hessdale from here? Is it going down the highway, or is it going
No,
down?
it goes-
Still going through the country roads?
It goes up to Divide usually.
Okay. Okay, all right, that sounds like fun. 100 people he's got, 100 rides it looks like.
Yeah.
They donate for that too, don't they? That's okay. Great. That's wonderful.
So there's that, and then he talked about fireworks and the fire department. Let's see, requesting donations again this year. You guys usually, I think you did. I should have looked. Sorry,
It's usually
couldn't
1,000
remember. I
per
think
year.
it is usually 1,000. But he said cost is up this year, and they're trying to figure out a finale. So you can read the letter.
I think that's something we have to decide tonight. I don't want to wait till 2 weeks before the 4th to make a
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah.
He mentioned, and Annie asked me about it earlier, that costs are up like 300%. Some things they are, absolutely. He's not asking for 300% of what you normally donate to get us wrong. We're doing other avenues trying to raise the money. The donations we get from the lake are amazing. I mean, the residents out there always do a great job. Over the last few years, just the cost of things going up before everything we're in now, the donations weren't covering that. One reason we started doing the consumer sales out there at the lake, that helped out a lot last year. We're going even bigger on that this year. Hopefully that's an avenue that keeps it functioning. The finale, I have not been able to buy a professional cake at all this year. Actually saw today a company had some in stock. It's who we get most of our stuff out of Michigan. Called them today. They don't have another truck coming south until basically after PGI, which is another month away. It's the end of July. No way to get any finale cakes. I did go ahead and purchase $3,000 worth of cakes today for the 2023 4th of July fireworks. So it's like we're over a year out on some of this stuff. We'll figure something out. I think we're going to electronically shoot a lot of shells and stuff
So you're gonna make your own
for
finale.
the finale, which we always do that too. We've been adding a little more and doing more electronic stuff each year, trying to do it and buying better quality products. This year we're buying what's available. Unfortunately, yes and no. A lot of the stuff that was available are the premium products. We normally hit middle of the road because of the cost. A lot of the stuff, the only thing we could get this year were really like young fin shells, which are top of the line Japanese shells. So
We're gonna really
they're
cry
going to be
about your
freaking
premium
awesome. But yeah.
fireworks.
So yeah, just a little backstory on what's going on in that market.
Black guy willing to take a road trip to Michigan.
All right.
There's a whole lot of placards and licenses to transport that stuff. You probably don't want to deal with it.
Eastbound down.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question on this 4th of July thing for the lake, and you guys fill me in on that. I think we all got a letter in the mail from the fire department talking about this event coming up, asking for donations and inviting people out for hot dogs and things of this nature. I also read in there that they're talking about a boat safety zone. that boats on the water have to stay a certain distance away from the dam, or they shut it down, or it gets shut down. So how is that marked? Does anybody know how that water is marked out there for the safety zone?
Life and Parks for the last 3 years now has done that for us, and they run back and forth on a safety zone with their boats.
That's all they do. They don't have anything in the water that says
No,
don't go beyond this, or just,
Yeah, no, they just run it.
Okay.
Let everybody know as they get up.
okay. All right. Richard, if you wouldn't mind putting that in your newsletter to the residents out there, that if they put a boat on the water to observe this safety barrier, if you don't mind, I appreciate that.
We do.
Thank you.
And you take donations from private parties, correct?
Everybody,
Yes,
anybody and everybody. We do not discriminate.
Green's green.
Yeah.
Okay.
It all helps and it all goes towards the show.
Well, what do you guys think? I mean, increase wise.
Kind of between 1,500 and 2,000 is kind of the numbers I had in my head.
Me too.
If we donate $2,000 out of the lake fund for the fireworks show.
I will second.
We have a motion to donate 2,000 this year's fireworks show to the fire department, and a second. Is there any discussion on that? Those in favor? The favors have it 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Stephanie didn't mean to take away from
No,
from
uh,
this show, but
yeah, I have a
continue.
couple other things. So last meeting, we approved fire extinguishers. The motion was for 10 pound, 3 of them, plus the brackets and all stuff. That was over $250. So I did not order any
Okay.
for 10 pound. The smaller ones are $27 or
How much were the $10?
They're like
pounds? I'm
5
sorry.
pound. They're like $80 to $100 a piece.
For a 10 pounder.
Really?
And $27
What I
for a
found
5
on-
pounder.
It's because it puts out different things, I bet.
Well,
They're rated for different.
ABC
The ratings
Yep,
should be the
if
same.
you guys,
So they- are they
I mean,
similar?
look them up and let me know if I'm wrong.
That's
But I
bananas.
looked at Menards, I looked at Uline, or is it Uline? Was that the one? I don't know. I looked at several different places and
And they're all
It makes sense
ABCs.
for the size, I
ABC
guess.
10 pound, 10 pound.
Yeah.
So
It's ABC and a 5 pound available.
yeah,
Okay, that's
I
what
just
was
didn't
thinking.
know
I
if
think they
the motion was 10, so didn't do anything. The fire department does that.
The fire department.
Thing like that.
What's
They-
that?
fire extinguishers. They wanted to get 3 fire extinguishers
Oh,
for the
no.
bait shop. So I don't know if you guys wanna reduce it to 2 and maybe,
Mike, what would you recommend as far as size for out there at the bait house?
And quantity.
Jeez, I don't know. Campers are kind of like trailer houses. Once they go, they
Oh,
go.
I know, yeah. But I was
yeah.
thinking about for mainly the inside of the bait house.
Oh, I don't know if we could get it to burn if we tried, but
Well, I was thinking about the
Yeah.
wiring and whatever.
yeah. I mean, there's good circuit protection. I don't know. I mean, nothing overkill. I mean, I know we've got some big woods on our trucks. I don't know if they do that by pounds or whatever. They're huge, but that's
We have
overkill.
5 pound ones sitting around there, we ought to be able to put something out.
You got 3 5
No,
pounders
no.
out now.
If
Yeah.
you got the 3.5.
Yeah, and they go longer than you think. I know there was one deployed, which somebody had it out there. It was a smaller one on like a grill caught fire in a propane tank, and it actually overpressured. They kept it from maybe catching a tin or something on fire, but I mean, of course, propane tank was just blowing and going. That we went out on a fire call, but yeah, I mean, I think 5 pound
Okay.
would be the. I mean, the little under counter kitchen ones, no, those would be way too small.
No,
Like
no.
the next step up, I would say that would be sufficient. I mean, you get a good probably 20-30 seconds bursts out of those.
sorry, not to interrupt. I also don't really know what I'm looking for when I'm looking for like an outdoor case for one. I was unable to.
You thinking like break glass in case of emergency,
Yeah.
or just open a door and grab it if you need it? Like,
Break glass.
break the
Break
glass. Yeah,
Yeah.
and somebody just breaks a glass.
If it's just available to open a door, it'll disappear within a week. It'd be in somebody's on the road.
If you have a broken glass one, they break the glass and it disappears. I don't know. It's kind of.
Well,
One,
I don't know. I don't know what
And a
you worse. I
barefoot kid
really
cuts a
don't.
foot.
I was thinking of the plastic myself.
Well, can't break that.
Because of the,
for those of you that do camping in other places, what do they have for that sort of thing?
Has
Their
a
location.
fire extinguisher on the camper.
Sorry.
Okay,
Kinda
so
like a
they,
water
so that
craft,
those
you should
campsites
water.
don't provide them. They
I've
don't
not ever
provide them.
seen it.
So we shouldn't be providing necessarily a fire extinguisher for a camper
That's,
or a person camping. But provide fire extinguisher for the bait house for internal use if it,
let's get one 10-pounder for inside the bait house. That's what I think. Get Julie a good one.
I do see 5.5 pounds for $45.75 in Walmart, not shipped or anything. I was
Are
looking up
those-
there,
Recertifiable, does it say anything about that, or are they
Yeah.
the throwaways? Because that's the thing, I mean, when you get into the
Probably
large ones,
throwaway.
recertifying them is freaking expensive.
but Kitty brand that has a lot of.
And I don't
are you talking
know,
about recharging them?
well, no, they have to just come and look at them and put a new tag on them.
Yeah,
They charge
that's
you
a-
on the button. Like
it's
the
a
little
yearly
ones,
thing.
you might as well throw them away each year.
So
They end up, Uline
our,
has
our volunteer
cabinets,
fire
is that what
department
you-
can't inspect these fire
Well, that's what I
extinguishers
don't
and get them
It's called a
certified.
fire extinguisher cabinet.
Yeah, but like,
Agree,
I didn't order
it's probably
it.
gonna work,
Can that
but
just be
and we're a government,
screwed onto the.
it's iffy.
I don't know.
I mean,
Well,
we have
cinder
ours
block,
looked
though,
at
cinder
like every
block.
5
I
years.
mean,
I've
it's
granted, I've been
the-
retired for well over 10 years, but
I guess
we
I
had
feel
the
like
big
I'm
fire department came into
qualified.
our
Screws in all those
and
little signs.
checked the tags and retagged them.
Well, yeah, you just drill it.
So I didn't know.
There's still a monthly check that you're supposed to do on your
Yeah,
own,
that's
look
the
at it,
individual.
I
make
can
sure
do
the
that.
thing, yeah.
They look at the little tag.
That's all they do is they
Okay,
do.
so do we want to change it over to a 10-pound inside and leave it at that?
I don't have a problem with a 10-pounder.
They can double as our security system. Burglar defense.
I don't think you probably need another motion because that's what them. Okay, couple other things. Speaking of animal control, I've had several complaints about geese in town. So just FYI on that.
Where are the geese? Where's the complaint address of the geese?
They're on Mineral Street.
okay, that's
And they're mean is the complaint. They've gotten in someone's garden and then they actually chased some kids that live on that road.
Geese can be very nice.
So I made a phone call, left a message to the person at that residence. I have not heard back. I guess I can go ahead and send a letter, but I don't know if they're like chasing kids, if it's.
Doesn't matter. I don't think
Yeah.
geese.
Did somebody
Diet.
actually
Part of
file
our
a
allowance.
complaint?
No,
and
no,
put one in,
it's-
or-
it's-
I didn't think,
yeah.
I didn't
They,
think
they
so.
didn't read our
I didn't think they did, but we do have
Three
two families that
different
have
people.
exceptions.
so these are pet, quote, pet geese?
It was posted on Facebook not too long ago that she was looking for them. They ended up out of town. So.
So
just
let me,
FYI.
I just want to verify, we have two residents in Estes that have exemptions for animals of this nature, do we not?
It's, I think
We have
it's
what?
an unspoken
No
kind of.
such thing.
And are they
No
next door,
exceptions.
are they next door to the school? Because the children of those two families are autistic and there's some type of deal on that? Am I missing something here?
That's not the
It's
geese.
the alpacas.
That's not the geese.
But that's what he's
Yeah.
asking.
No,
He's
I'm-
asking about, are there two exemptions for
There
those
are
two families?
There's no exemptions.
They have support animals.
I understand there's no
No
exceptions to the
formal
city ordinance.
exemption.
Yeah, there's no.
Except for people that had goats or whatever prior to that ordinance.
Yeah, the grandfathering in probably was a question, but there is no, I don't think that the ordinance gives any exceptions for support animals. And there's thing is support animals technically.
So-
They're either service animals or they're not.
I will say we've never received
Sorry,
a
I said
complaint
the wrong
about
one.
any of those
Yeah.
animals, but we have received a complaint about these because they're chasing people.
So
And they are not kept. They're just on the loose.
the geese have gotten out several times. The person does live in town.
Yes.
Then
I don't know.
Yeah, we need to send a letter.
And then the last thing. So there is Amy Castle was her name. She's the one who contacted me. Her son won the Wabunsee County Entrepreneur Contest, and he started his business Royal Ice, and he's doing shaved ice. I believe they're out of Alma, and they are wondering if they could purchase a camp spot for a day to sell their shaved ice, but they're willing to buy a camping spot. I didn't know if that would be allowed.
We don't have anything, to my knowledge, we don't have anything saying that if you set up a camp, you're paying for your campsite. I don't think we have anything saying you can't pedal something out of your camper at the same time.
I wasn't
In
for
fact,
sure,
that's-
so.
Well, you can't peddle something legally.
Well, in fact,
let's just call it Royal Ice for a day.
I don't want a camper out there. It's rocking.
I want to go on the record saying that I encourage you to go out there and sell something
Okay,
legally.
thank you.
Yeah, I thought it was a good idea,
Yeah,
but
I
I
think
wanted
it's
to
great.
run it by everybody first. So.
I think it's great.
Cool.
Tell them that we are more.
And do they
When?
really need to buy a
Yes.
camp spot?
I don't know.
Can't they just set anywhere?
Yeah, okay, cause like 4th of July weekend, we have nothing available.
Right. I mean, they would just get in contact with you, and you guys let them know. Yep, this
Yeah,
is
just give them our number.
okay.
My number.
We'll do. I just want to make sure it was.
That is a good point. Do they really have to purchase a campsite or can they
They
just
probably need
sell?
power.
They need power.
Ah.
Is the deal.
Never mind.
They
Back it
don't-
up now.
They don't have a generator. Yes, that's why.
Okay, do we want to make
Just
a
have them
special
call Julie,
exemption?
she can hook them
I
up.
can have the floor for that.
Tim, go ahead.
We have no problem.
The spot
Go
where
for it.
Deb Ponton camped last year, there's a power thing there. It's powerful enough to feed an air conditioner on
It's
a
a
camper.
30 amp 110. They would have to have an adapter.
I don't want to turn it into a campsite, but I don't see a problem with letting him park right up there where she was, next to that shelter house. It's invisible. It's visible from everybody at the campsite area. He can plug in and get power right there. He can pay for a campsite. That would.
I'm moving my camper
Take
up to
care
that
of the-
spot, Tim.
Pardon?
I was gonna move my camper up to that spot.
Before the 4th?
Yes. But they're more
Would
than
that handle
welcome
it
to
down
sit
there
there
where
where.
she is?
I think that's why she's moving it, because
Maybe. I mean, just a shaved ice machine if they just need
He's
like
probably
a.
got an air
But they
conditioner.
see it like I-
Imagine.
Is this like a trailer thing?
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
trailer.
Yeah, it might not then, because that's literally
He's got
just
refrigerated stuff for the ice. It's probably drawing more than a regular camper.
Let's find out what he needs.
Have them call me and then we'll
Okay.
let know when they would be. I'll put them at the spot.
Okay, we'll do. That's all I have.
Let him know that we are enthusiastic about it.
Yeah.
Please. What else?
That's it.
Okay. You did put applications around town for various things, did you not?
Flyers. Yes.
You were
Then I
flyers.
post them on Facebook.
And what were they for?
We
Everybody
did.
knows.
I have to go back to my Facebook. Weed eating and lawn maintenance. Animal control public officer. And then someone going around taking pictures at the lake, like lake inventory, are the ones that I did.
are we splitting that off?
I don't know. I had already had flyers around town for the lake. I don't know what we call it, inventorying. I had already had those, and so I guess you don't have to.
I would think the public officer would also be the one going out to the lake taking photos. That's what I would think.
Okay. Well, I can take down those flyers and
No,
And you
change
said
just leave them on.
fill-ins for you too,
no, not a clerk, substitute. I
a
did not.
substitute, and then a treasurer.
I did not because we need to figure that out because I need something to tell people. Like we haven't talked. Well, first of all, I don't. What would their duties be? Are they doing? Like,
Do we have any applicants for any of the jobs that you mentioned?
We have a clerk applicant, like a clerk application, a
Substitute.
substitute application.
And I have a treasurer's application, and I have one other person who was supposed to fill one out before today. But that hasn't come in. And we have 2 applications for the weed eating.
Yeah.
That I'm aware
So
of.
we can at least do 2 things there.
It's on the agenda though,
Yeah.
if that's what you're.
And we'll get down to that.
Yeah.
Both of those. Okay, any more questions for Stephanie? Okay, review of purchase requests and work orders. Mike, again.
This is going back to the AMI fixed base water meter system we've been talking about. This was one of the things that I had included in spending our ARP funding. What I'm looking at, I sent you guys an email. I don't know if anybody had a chance to look over what this is. It's the same metering system. It's still a Zinner metering system. What I'm looking at here is just a little bit different of a communication system. The AMI was basically a radio mesh network. There were a couple of repeaters built in to get all our stuff to talk to each other. What the SET, which is Smart Earth Technology, it is a cellular system. Cellular around here, of course, I was very skeptical. I'd looked over it for a little while. They were actually coming through town last week. They stopped to talk to me, showed me a lot of the stuff, the dashboard, kind of how their communication works, what you can get off of their system. This technology will transmit anything that meter will spit out. Whatever the meter monitors, this thing passes it on. It will work with things other than Zinner. There might be, some 2-inch meters, different wavelengths. We can get different brands of meters. We're not tied to Zinner. This is literally the communication technology. We were sitting right here in this room and of course checking the cellular signal. We were going to go out and about and check it. 7 and above, I think on a scale of like say 25 of how they rate their signal is considered good with this system. Anything 5 and above tends to work reliably. You get into the 4s and the 3s, you might have some issues here and there. He activated one of the communication devices right here at the table. It was at a 7 in the building, which I thought was interesting. They're currently using AT&T and Verizon. They should have a contract with T-Mobile within a month or 2. They're working on that right now. It will use all of the above, any of the above, however it communicates. It runs on a different band of cellular. It's more like kind of a SCADA frequency. It's a very low bandwidth type of thing. It doesn't need to transmit a lot of, intensive data, pictures, stuff like that. It's literally 1s and 0s. So it's more reliable. Took him down to the shop in the hole. There was an 11 as far as the signal strength down there. Kind of went up on the hill this way. And it was like a 22-ish, I think, 21, 22, something like that. The sucker might actually work around here, which is pretty impressive.
I was gonna say that was my one worry when you said
Yeah. Worst case scenario, if we got one somewhere that was in a hole or a couple 3, 5 that just would not communicate or didn't want to communicate, you can set them to transmit, 4 or 5 times a day. So it tries 4 or 5 times. They will report every day with data that we can set parameters, go in and look, get low flow, high flow, no flow alarm, stuff like that, freeze warnings, temperature, whatever the meter will do, it'll report back to us. Worst case scenario, if one just will not read, they're Bluetooth capable. You go, you take a little magnet, you spin on it, it wakes this thing up, you connect to it Bluetooth, you read it, and then whatever device you read it with, which is any Android phone can have the app, any Android device, currently no iPhone support. And then it will, boom, send it right to the server, Stephanie's deal. So worst case scenario, we would have to go out and Bluetooth it once a month. I don't think that would be an issue though. Advantages of this. There is no yearly or monthly maintenance fees, anything like this on this system. This is a 20-year one-time cost. Talked to this company, the Zinner AMI fixed base, we were looking at about $2,350 a year maintenance and $300 a year for the cloud software per meter, which is basically $1 per meter per year. Over 20 years, it was going to be about $47,000 for annual maintenance and $6,000 over 20 years for the original system I was looking at, for the cloud software, which was going to put the original Zinner bid in at 165,600 approximately. A 20-year true cost. Now that's if in 20 years Zinner didn't increase their annual maintenance, anything like that. This company, a 20-year deal, basically you're buying 20 years of data. They're going to build the system to communicate with our system for 123,600.
I'm going to interrupt you if I may. Did I read where that 123,000 was due in 30 days?
Yeah.
Didn't I see net 30 days on one of those? Or what am I seeing for net 30 days?
All prices are good for 90 days unless authorized in writing.
Is this what you emailed everybody?
Yeah, that's the AMI one.
Did anybody else see that, or am I just dreaming?
I didn't.
We pay for it when we get it.
Oh, there it is, net 30 days right there. Term net 30 days.
Do you have any?
So that's a concern if we have to come up with $100,000 in 30 days. I don't know what that actually means right there. We need that clarified.
Right. That means, once we receive the invoice, when we receive our equipment, that's most everybody runs on a net 30 as far as terms, credit terms.
Okay, and that's fine. I just need to know what's going to be due in 30 days. And you don't have a breakdown on that just yet.
This one is actually not the one that I want to buy. That is the AMI. And this one over here, which there was a screw up in here that showed annual maintenance of $3,003 on the set technology. I don't know if that was on the copy I sent you guys. I checked on that today. That was to be in that memo line at all. There is no annual maintenance on the set technology. History on this, I asked them, okay, how long has your company been in business? They've been in business about 14 years right now, so it's not brand new. They just got bought out by a private equity firm. They're currently in the process. They got to bid to put in 550,000 meters in Miami-Dade County for their water system. So that's a huge client as well. I don't foresee them being gone sometime in the 20 years. That was my concern. Is like, all right, where are you in 5 years, 10 years, whatever. If we do this, we move forward. What they do, they approach it a little differently. Zinner wanted to come out and, charge $1,400 a day for project management, software training,
Run it by me again.
evaluation.
1,400 a day
Yes.
on the days that they're here doing it.
Yes.
Okay.
This was the original Zinner deal, which came up to 16,000-ish, depending on what we used for building the system, training on it, whatever. If we say do this, Set Technologies computer guys get with G-Works computer guys. They talk ones and zeros, say, what does your billing system need to communicate with you? They build their software to speak the language that G-Works needs. They run it through some trials back and forth with each other, which is included in this price. And then we do training from there. They get us going. We do have a guy who lives in Colorado was the rep that came to me the other day with Dave at DCMB Supply. They implement it. They have chat function, phone function. If we absolutely need somebody, they could send somebody out if there's like something detrimental happens that will not work with the system. They are out of California as their home base. And then of course, 24/7 email support, but not an immediate call.
So can you give us a comparison to what we have now and what it does for the customers with water usage with the new system?
What we have now are all mechanical meters. A lot of them are way over the 1 million gallon mark, way over the 10-year mark. They're still metering. They're probably not metering accurately. We haven't had a huge issue with water loss consistently. We do make a lot of water. We make our own water. All the water districts and everything we sell to them gets figured into our water loss, and everything that we waste, that we meter waste at the plant, that doesn't count as water loss. But as far as what the actual customers getting billed, these are ultrasonic meters. They're extremely low flow. They're extremely accurate. A lot of things that mechanical meters, especially old ones, will not pick up, these meters will pick up. There are going to be people that are going to use a few 100 gallon more a month, probably.
That would be a minimal cost though, to a
Oh.
couple hundred a gallon.
Oh, yeah,
Just a
yeah,
minute, okay.
yeah, absolutely.
So the residents aren't gonna see a higher water bill that's out of the ordinary then.
Not a huge increase dollar wise. No, I wouldn't foresee that unless something out there.
So let me ask another question then, and maybe a follow-up to this one. And this is all gonna be done basically over the air. Nobody's gonna physically go out and read meters, is that right?
Correct, unless there are any issues.
That would be the only time they go out there. So we're gonna save time, employee walking around town doing all this. And any idea on the cost savings for that? How many hours they spend a month?
We usually allow 3 days. It doesn't take us 3 full days, but depending on weather and when we do it and everything else and phone calls that come up. But like I read down south, which that won't affect me as much now because I'm primarily gas meters, but Drew and then Jim has some water meters at the lake. Primarily Drew's time, it will save probably about true hours, I would say probably 12 to 14 hours a month.
But they take 3 days to read the meters. So that would be only 20 to 24 hours.
Right. We try to start 3 days prior to when Stephanie has to enter them. Like, so 3 days, that's when we usually say, okay, we're going to try to make
Well,
this.
I just want to be a little more accurate in what we're saving here.
Right. And when it comes meter reading time, Stephanie initiates that. She literally pushes a button, boom, they collect. This is the reading that goes in on this day. It enters. She will still have to enter gas meters for now, stuff like that manually. We're going to have to manually read them. This company is working on technology and MIUs that will bolt to like American Meter Census, which are the meters that we use for cellular read. And they should have those deployed third quarter of this year. We're not going to buy them third quarter this year.
For the gas meter.
For the gas meters. Same technology, same communications would work on our gas system prior. One advantage there with this technology, rather than the radio mesh network, we were going to need more repeaters like for Allen Admire to get it up to Eskridge. This cellular down there, they should all communicate with a cellular signal.
You wouldn't repeat it all the way, wouldn't you? Just have a backhaul somewhere in Admire or like mounted on a pole or something that had a cellular to
Not with the AMI, I don't think they had a
connection.
cellular interface. They
Really?
spoke to each other or a repeater.
okay.
Yeah, I mean meter to meter would
And then got back here to an antenna that was centrally located.
City Hall.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I think when we did the water surveys in there, mapped everything, Stephanie got them addresses. I think that we were going to need 3 repeaters just to do Eskridge and the lake water meters that we have. And I believe the 3 were probably to get Lake Wabansie to here because we don't have as many water meters on the feeder line. The gas, I didn't have them survey that because we weren't doing it. But we've got a lot of gas meters on the feeder line. But I think there'd be distances where, you know, the entire town of Admire could talk to this meter and then they could get it to this meter, but then there might be a mile and it couldn't get it to the next meter. So we'd have to have a repeater in there somewhere. But they never had anything as far as like a cellular collector to bump it back that I know. All individual cellular, each one of them speaks directly.
I know you and I have talked about budget
Mhm.
already this year several times. So put this gas metering down for a possible budget item for this fall when we get on the budget so we can start preparing for that as well. Would you do that on your list of budget wants / needs? So what do you guys think of that idea?
I think it's great. The one thing I really was interested in is the ability to detect a leak,
Mhm.
which I know we've lost money on and our residents have definitely paid up.
And once we get a baseline, you know, if the system will get a customer's average usage and then we set the parameters, which will take a little bit of getting used to, like what do we want to be alerted by?
Yeah.
Now, I mean, it'll even alert, you know, we could set it up for text messages 24 hours a day, get a text message, you know, of something, which we may do on some of our 2-inch meters or something like that. If we have 2-inch meters and all of a sudden it's going to go to constant flow for an hour or more, yeah, we probably want a text message on that. You know, if somebody that used 400 or 150 gallon a day started using 300 gallon a day, we're not going to get a text message on that, but it'll be a daily report to us and be like, hey, we might need to call so-and-so to be like, you're using twice as much water as your average or something.
And will the employees such as yourself and Drew have access to this information on your own cell phones?
Depending on the app, yeah.
So the the notices, for example, the email could go direct to you or direct to Drew.
However we set it up, yeah, text message, email, yes. It's not, no billing information, literally just data collection is all that this app
Right, but
does.
if
Once
there's-
it dumps it into billing, that's all
If
Stephanie.
Annie has a leak overnight, she's not aware of it, but Drew gets the message, he'd see it first thing in the morning.
Right, right. And that would be something
Be
we
knocking
would
on
do.
her doors.
Yeah, I mean, we're all about that, but we're not gonna commit ourselves to monitoring this 24/7.
No.
We're not paid to be on call to let people know.
No, I'm not saying
No, I
on her 24/7.
Just putting that out.
I'm just hoping it would.
And that's
alert
why I
you in
said
some
at
way.
8 o'clock when he reports to
Right.
work, he can check his phone and see what's available.
Yeah, once we figure it out, we would set our parameters and what we want to be notified by. I mean, yeah, there'll be a learning curve there, but I think with the savings, I mean, we're looking a little over 50,000 over 20 years, and you know, somebody put a sticky note on the wall for whoever's here, and you know, in 15 years, we need to be thinking about what we're going to do.
And it's 50,000 over how many years?
20 years.
20 years. And that's just on the water that we're currently, if we don't do it, we're losing $50,000 in the next 20 years in the water.
No, this is the cellular technology versus the AMI mesh network, the radio network.
Okay, I guess
The
I'm
two quotes
confused.
that I have. The two
We're
quotes I
not
have.
saving then over 20 years. We're saving just based on these two things right here.
We're saving that amount in 20 years due to annual maintenance fees with this system versus no annual
Right,
maintenance on
okay,
this
all
system.
right. Now that makes sense to me, but when you said we're saving 50,000 over 20 years, it made me think that we're losing $50,000 worth of water over the next 20 years if we don't have a system that accurately reports it. Does that make sense, what I'm asking? Okay, all right, okay. And there is the other benefit too, that we don't have employees walking around town in all kinds of weather and doing this every month.
Yeah, and water too, especially opening up meter pits, things like that. There are other things we can do too with this system. Not going to do it for all of them, of course. There is a remote smart valve that we can put. We can buy a shorty meter and put in our existing meter sets a remote smart valve. Accounts that are notorious for being turned off and turned on and turned off and turned on and having to go out and physically work our angle valves. This has cellular technology. If they're repeat offenders, we can put this in there, and when they go past 2 seconds, we can push a button and say, "Oh, or reduces flow." They even have a reduced flow function. So if you want to be like, all right, well, you can turn your shower on, but here in a minute, it's going to be real
So
slow.
do you have how do you have a proposal on where the money's gonna come from?
Yes, I would like to use our allotted ARP funding for this. The original estimate, which has gone up some for the mesh network, was about 112,600. This one is 123,600. A little bit more, but of course we look at the approximately a little over $50,000 over 20 years in savings on maintenance fees. This is a cheaper long-term solution. We're still holding out on our turbidimeters at the plant. I had those that I wanted replaced with some of that ARP money. We're still using the existing. We will need to replace our backwash pump. I just spoke to Alexander's about that again, which that was the third thing that I wanted to use some of this ARP money for, was replacing the backwash pump at the water plant. I think we'll still have the funding to do that. We may have to hold off on turbidimeters for a while, which is fine for now. They're working. We just need to know. I mean, of course, if they quit working, we will have to use our reserves. We do have water reserves, an emergency reserve for that stuff. But this would all be funded by the city's portion of the ARP funding that's been allotted to us, and a portion of the, I believe, 45,000-ish that the county decided to give every municipality. The county did that out.
So tell me again, what is our allotment, not counting the counties?
I should have that.
It's at least
It's an
20,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 90 and change.
And then 45 from the city or from the county.
Yeah. This would not exhaust it, and I believe that we would still have enough to cover.
Do we have a deadline on when we have to use that?
Yes. It's out
I
there
just
a
did all
ways still, but yeah.
But we want to make
Stephanie
sure
just did the
if
reporting
we decide to
for-
go
to
this
get our
route, we want to make
tickets.
sure we're not going to get lost in the
We got
Time
any
frame.
COVID money yet we can use?
That's what
What
this
this
is.
is.
Yep.
You can't hear everything right here.
I can't hear it.
This is American Rescue Plan. Of course, there's been Spark funding. There's been many of them. This is actually the Build Back Better American Rescue Plan money that they initially sent out for, water infrastructure replacement and to put it into infrastructure. And then they've kind of just given the free for all to people now to spend it on stuff. But I think it's actually very valuable that we spend it on our infrastructure and not.
One more question comes to mind. If we decide to go this route, start to finish on this project, is how much time?
Start to finish on this project,
Getting everybody
Zinner,
like it's supposed to be.
yeah, Zinner is running surprisingly about on say like a 300 meter order on 3/4 or 5/8 by 3/4 meters, about 4 to 5 weeks on getting those meters to our door. The set technology about the same as far as the communication devices and cabling and stuff like that.
Is there going to be any cutting off of water for any length of time?
Barring anything unusual, no. If we break an angle valve, break a setter, we might have to shut a section down, dig up a setter, replace it, which is inevitable. There's a lot of valves out there. People have paid their bill for the last 15 years and that have not been shut off. So there will be minor issues here and there, but nothing major. I would guess it would take us approximately 6 months to complete start to finish and have everything done. And that's with us doing this too. The three of us installing these. Contractors charge $50 to $100 per meter set to install these for you. Deal is if they break an angle valve, if they break a setter, they call you and say, well, come deal with it. So I would rather us operate our stuff. Changing out water meters is absolutely horrible. Oh, and the only other thing is we have to cut holes in all of our metal lids. So I'm gonna take an old one, to a guy with a plasma cutter, see what size he has and see, because they're cast, how well it works. If that's the case, to zip those out a lot quicker, I built our little welding trailer, pieced together a bunch of stuff, and it's got an air compressor on it too. Old portable welder that'll act as a generator. If we can set that up and have the plasma as we tow that around to zip all those holes to put these antennas in the water meter lids rather than torching them or drilling them. So
Magic.
trying for that.
Winter's not going to hang you up because that's.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, to get started, this will,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know.
Roughly.
Yeah, it's June. Right now we'd be into December. I don't know. This will be, 6 months of work time, I would guess.
Okay.
So yeah, we might get 2 or 3 months in this year and then start, April next year, something like that. I don't know. I'm sorry about that. I don't
No,
mean
that's fine.
like December 31st, everybody's going to be in.
Do you have to have the entire system installed before we can start utilizing it?
No.
Okay.
No, I asked that too, as far as we would definitely try to start in line as far as the book goes and the account numbers go, because we'll have to get that figured out. And when we figure out, okay, this account number goes with this meter number and the communication, but we talked about that too, or I did with them. And now we'll just kind of go in line and get them going and gradually stop reading.
All right.
So, one other thing, which I just kind of noticed when I was looking at the appropriations, the water meters, the Zinner mechanical meters that we're getting right now are about $105 a piece, just for direct read meters. The 5/8 Zinner Stealth ultrasonic meters are $124. It's really not much more for these meters, and they are ultrasonic and they do all that information. So the cost isn't in the meter, the cost is in the communication.
You have to buy, everybody have to have this new meter?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Even Julie, who's going to have to pay more money for her water bill.
Now her meter's pretty new. It freezes time to time, so she keeps a new one.
Absolutely.
Are you gonna put them in spots where there's a water well? Never mind. That's a private question. I'll ask you later too.
Well, are you wondering if they're going to be replacing in the same place our current meter is?
They're in the pits, yes. Everywhere there's a meter setter currently, or anybody that wants a meter would have.
Anybody that uses water should have a meter. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying
Not
new
if they want
customers
one, yeah.
would get, wherever it goes, or if we set a new pit, this would all be what we use from here on out.
So do they have any kind of statistics on like their failure rate or anything like that that they're willing to provide? And it may be in there, I apologize.
No, and I don't know. When it's through.
It's kind of related to what kind of warranty they provide. Because if one of these things plunks out, after 6 months, a year, what's that look
I
like?
think we did talk about warranty in here. I don't remember exactly what you said. They showed up late in the day. They got hung up on like the 2 cities they were at first doing this stuff. So they didn't get down here till we walked in about 4:30 that day.
How are they powered?
They have a battery. They're battery powered. And that's why they're on a 20-year deal right now to the batteries 15 to 20 years. He doesn't have these collectors. He goes at the end of 20 years, if it's still working, you scan it and it's got, 74% battery left. There's nothing to say it won't work for another 10 years. But they're basically your data plan starts over. They're putting the life at about 20 years. And these ultrasonic meters, they're putting the life at about 20 years.
Do they charge off any kind of static from the line? I mean, I don't know. It's just hard to imagine a battery that's able to power a cellular transponder for that long without being charged.
That's a one time a day blip. That's a one read a day, one transmission a day.
Okay.
And the Zinner meters, of course, they have to do more work. They're metering. These actually have a replaceable battery. They're one of the only in the industry that you can literally replace the battery in the meter. A lot of throwaways. Once the battery's dead, you gotta put a new meter.
Yeah, but like for a remote shut-off valve, that would have to have some kind of listening capability. So it would have to have an always on, and that would probably be a potential battery drain. But in the situations where you wanted to use something like that.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work. Normally open or normally closed, or if it's just null on each side. But no, that would be a replaceable battery. That one does have that.
Okay. And the other thing is so is the transponder or modem or whatever, is that separate from the meter, or is it like a module you can physically take out? And the reason I ask is because, 3G used to be the big cellular thing. Of course, that went away. Different companies took it out at different times. I think most of them have that ability removed right now. So everybody's on 4G. Well, what's the next, is that going to mandate? So everybody goes to 5G, and what's that look like?
No, he did bring that up.
if those
5G,
towers still
6G,
work?
7G, whatever. This works on, I can't remember the word for it. Yes. It's on like the backside of the cellular network. It's a data network. It's not like the voice and everything that works on, what is it called? I'm glad you brought that up. I can't
LTE
remember the
or-
name of it. Yeah. It's, but he said as it goes on, developing for cellular cat in one radio. I could get that information for you. They said call them anytime tonight if you would like.
Yeah. Well, it's just one of those things. It's like, I try to think of every scenario where it's like, well, they say it's 20 years, but what if it isn't 20 years? And
no, if you don't mind, I could absolutely get that information, which is very good information. If you want to move along a little bit, and then if we could circle back to me.
It's probably dedicated, so it's not gonna get mixed in with everything else.
Yeah. Right, and if we're looking 10 years minimum, 20 years down the road for repairs and upkeep, upgrading and things like that, that's something that we can throw in our budget to start preparing for that. Okay, does anybody have any concerns with this right now? Do you need more information? I think it's a win-win for the city.
A lot of people are going to. I mean, I honestly, in my time here at first, I wasn't big on the direct read stuff and really didn't think that people our size would be into it, but we're honestly kind of behind the game on it now.
I thought I remember you saying at one time, we'll never have that.
I didn't figure we ever would.
Yeah.
I mean, and that looks too, the technology even 10 years ago, a lot of them were still touch reads. You went around through the wall and tapping the deals on top of the meter deals. You still had to walk it, and they were super expensive. I mean, you're still walking your system, so.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like we've got the money to work it right now. So do you guys want to make any proposals? Do you want to table it for 2 weeks, give it more thought? What do you want to do?
I can get you information tonight if you want to circle back here a little bit of breaking point just with that, if you would like. I mean, Dave and Sky both said call them anytime tonight.
I don't know. I guess it was more me asking you, I guess, in terms of, is this something you've considered? And I don't know.
Yeah, I know I brought that up as far as like the integrity of the company, how long have they been around, stuff like that. I know he did because I said something about the cellular deal too. I just cannot remember what he said. But yeah, I would like to know, or if you want to put contingency in there too, as far as approved with anything.
So if we approve this tonight, you get word to them when?
As it's possible.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like tomorrow.
And how much time do they need before they can actually get moving on? You said up to 6 months before it's completely done.
That's us doing it. Yeah, I would expect equipment to start showing up our door in 4 to 6 weeks. Once we order it, as far as meters and communication and stuff like that, once we start.
And that might be better anyway, because then we're getting close to getting into the fall weather, which would be a little more comfortable for the workers out there. I like it. I don't know about anybody else, but I like this modernization thing. It's gonna help the city with saving time for employees out there working it. Save her the headache of transposing numbers that are coming in. So
You got the human factor in too. When we're manually reading something, we're gonna mess some up. I mean, that's all there is to it. I mean, we've got 540 active gas meters and 300 and some water meters. So you're reading almost 1,000 meters manually a month. We're gonna screw something up, and people get angry when you
And then
screw stuff.
sometimes I'm like, is that a 7 or a 1?
Yes, Michelle,
We need to make a motion.
that'd be nice.
Okay, I make a motion, we accept the set. Is that the one we're going
Zimmer.
with?
Yes, the Smart Earth Technology bid from DC&B Supply.
What do you say?
Repeat the motion, Sally, Stephanie, please. Motion by Michelle to accept
The Smart Earth.
this, what did you say,
Smart
smart
Earth Technology
bid?
bid from DC&B Supply. The
DCMB
amount
supply.
is $123,611.36.
About a lot of minnows, wouldn't it, Julie?
I'll second it.
And we have a second. So we have a motion to accept the bid from Smart
Earth
Earth Technology from DC&B with a bid of $123,611.36 using ARP funds. Put that down there.
Yep.
Using ARP funds. Do you mind if I add that to it?
No.
So moved.
And it was seconded by, it was Michelle made the motion. It was accepted by, seconded by Brett. Is there any further discussion on this issue? Okay, those in favor? The favor stab at 5-0.
It's amazing if anybody only learns how to change out water meters.
There you go, man.
Very
I'll come
Bryce,
watch.
it's you.
But yeah, it's very bittersweet. It's gonna
Sorry,
be
I'm
amazing.
retired. Not looking for, not looking for another job.
All right, let's move on. Next thing up is new city business revenue neutral rates.
So, this is our new way to do the budget. In your guys' packet, you have this, so, if you, oh, well, I changed it, yeah, sorry.
So I want to make sure.
So if you see the
Stay.
revenue neutral rate for 2023, and then behind that is the notice of revenue neutral rate intent. If it's our intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate,
And the
which is
idea is,
probably the suggestion.
the idea is exceed it.
Yeah.
Give the notice to exceed it. That way, if you do want to exceed it, you've given notice. It doesn't require that you do it. And remember, the revenue neutral rate is determined somewhat after the fact. This is basically safety.
Yeah.
As opposed to, if you say no, then they're gonna limit you to that rate.
Everything is based off of a dollar amount now rather than just a mill levy. So if you never went above revenue neutral, you could never take into account any of your valuation increase in your property.
So it is a truly neutral rate. If you got
Yes, and you will-
$50 one year, you're getting $50
$50
the next
and
year.
your mill's just gonna keep going down if your valuation goes up. So
Doesn't
you
say
will
you're
have
gonna
to
increase taxes by 10% or anything like that. So we're gonna exceed.
Same thing we did last year, right?
Yep.
I think that's a formality, really. Yeah. You need a motion then?
Yes.
Do we have to set, sorry, in
Yeah.
that hearing, do we have to set hearing in the motion?
Well,
Okay,
I think what you
or
do.
can we just tell the clerk, county clerk, that we're planning to exceed it, do you know? She
I
actually
thought
has a
that they had
timeline
this-
for me. Let me look.
What's the deadline on that?
No, we have to have
if-
we have to only have the hearing if you actually do exceed. And you can put that
Okay.
with the budget motion. It's the budget hearing and the R&R
Okay.
exceedance hearing is the same day. So this would just be the notice.
It's kind of weird now. If we don't exceed it, the clerk needs a budget in August. If we do exceed it, it's like October, and then your
Yes.
hearing happened.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
they really.
Yeah. You're right.
Oh, I'll take it any day. Over the tax lid. Over the tax lid.
Oh, well.
Tim, move.
I did not make a motion. I'm not
Oh,
sure
okay.
what to make the motion. So
Oh, I thought you moved for something. I thought there was a
I asked if
The
it was
motion to
required.
give, the motion would be to give notice of exceeding the revenue neutral rule to the county.
She does say it's the last day to notify county clerk of intent to levy above revenue neutral rate, provide proposed rate, date, time, location.
I'd say it's set at the same time as the budget hearing.
Okay, so we have until.
And it's due, the budget hearing is due. Okay, that's exceed, if not exceeding, revenue neutral rate. September 20th, it looks like.
Yeah.
Deadline to certify budget October 1st. I don't know.
You can make the motion to exceed the revenue neutral rate and to set the hearing date at an appropriate time. You guys don't care because it's gonna be at an open meeting.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, well, just by doing this that way, the accountant knows to, that she has permission to put that in the budget, so. Okay.
Certified October what?
First.
Okay, good enough.
I move to exceed the neutral rate, and what was the second part of that?
Give notice of that you're gonna exceed the revenue neutral rate to the county and to have the clerk set the hearing date.
There you go. That's my motion.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor to accept accept the fact that we're gonna notify the clerk that we plan to increase the revenue neutral rate.
To
we
exceed,
have-
not increase,
Exceed.
right?
To exceed the revenue.
Exceed, not increase.
To exceed, okay, correct, to exceed it, okay. And we have a second. Do we have any further discussion? A second by Annie, I'll let you get that one. Okay, all right, those in favor? Favors have it. Okay. Next item. Next item is kayak fees. And there's a complaint letter in your packet with that as well. And I believe that the person who wrote it is here. Nicholas, you're here, okay? And is everybody letter, first of all?
Yes.
Yes, I read it.
Okay, do you have any questions for either Nicholas or bait shop operators?
I guess I thought we did away with inspection fees on kayaks or on non-motorized watercraft. Did we just talk about that
Oh,
or?
yeah, we talked about it, but
Okay,
decided that they could carry just as much as one that's motorized.
okay,
No, they're
So I was mistaken
$10.
okay. Oh, it's a lower amount.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we
$10
lowered it
for
We lowered it.
non-motorized
2 years ago to
Yes.
$10.
when we changed all the
Okay.
rates.
When we changed the rates.
Your second, Richard. Hey,
It
question,
used to be.
Mr. Mayor, just for public record, what is the complaint that you're discussing?
we had
Kayak fees.
a customer went to the bait shop and had an issue with the amount of the boat inspection. And there was also another issue of the boats being charged for a boat inspection fee, but the boats were not inspected.
Thank you.
There was some controversy surrounding all of that. I will tell everybody that I spent 2 hours and 45 minutes minimum talking to, can I use your name? Talking to Nicholas, who wrote the letter. And I'm pretty sure that we kind of resolved what went on out there, and he has a better understanding of why things were going. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
okay at this point. I also talked to the bait shop operator, and I couldn't slap her on the wrist, but we did have a discussion on what she should have done in that situation. And in a situation, I told her in a situation where a potential customer who wants to put a boat on the water refuses to have the boat inspected, then they're not allowed to get the permit sold to them nor put the boat on the water. Is that correct, Julie?
That's what you told me.
Okay. So I don't know if there's really anything else in here that I need to bring up, but Nicholas, did you want to comment anything further than what you and I talked about, or did you want to share?
For the boat tag and feed, I feel that should be combined as one, because it's kind of misleading. You buy a boat tag for $20 and then you have an inspection fee for $10 when you might as well just say the boat tag is $30. So why have those two separated, and why have the amount that high?
I thought that for a while too, I'll be honest with you. I mean, it does simplify things, and that way you can see exactly what you're in for if you're, like, say, looking at a chart or something like that. But
Yeah, one other thing is maybe have a set of rules or a guideline that can be posted saying, this is what the boat tag is, this is what is included in the boat tag, and have it actually say, okay, you're buying the boat tag, that is the boat tag, and that includes the inspection fee required. Maybe some other little things as well. And for the spraying of the boats and stuff, I'm sorry, I know my opinion is my opinion, but if I have cloth on my boat that costs $1,800, I don't want an unknown concentrate of bleach sprayed on my boat. And that does harm boats, plastic, pontoon, aluminum. It does harm them if they're left on there too long.
And you and I talked about that, but just for everybody else's information, the concentration, unknown concentration, was never discussed when you were getting that boat registered. Is that correct?
That was never brought up.
Never brought up. And quite honestly, I thought that we were using a solution of 3 to 1, which is 3 parts water, 1 part bleach. And then after talking to Nicholas, I went home, and I don't know if I talked to him, if I did this before or after, but sometime either before or during the conversation, we're talking about that solution. I did look it up, and 2% is the maximum that we're supposed to have for a solution to kill all the entire problems that we might get from the lake, from other lakes being brought in. So, and then when I went and talked to Julie told me she's using, correct me if I'm wrong, was it 2 tablespoons to a gallon or 2 teaspoons? 2 teaspoons to a gallon of water. So that would put it under the 2% or right at it. But I have to agree with Nicholas. I think we need something out there that says what this inspection includes, or the fee if you combine them. And even though it says you're spraying something on there, it needs to be noted that it's a 2% solution.
I've had people ask me before, I just don't want to spray no like bleach water on them.
Well, by us putting it in writing like he's suggesting, it also gives an unknowing person such as myself or anybody else that comes in with a boat saying, wait a minute, I don't think that's right. And they can look up themselves online and they can read where 2% is all it's needed. So,
Put it in our brochure.
Well, I'd like a whole list of stuff, but not really sure.
yes,
then write up what you would like. Let's get a look at it and see what we can do to get that changed as soon as possible. Nicholas, you had a question?
What I think we might also do for that is when, I know this was my misconception when I went in there, I apologize for that. When you do the inspection fee, that inspection fee is a one-time thing. And
Right.
It's not incurred every single time.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing I was not happy about.
Now, yes, it is a one-time occurrence on the fee, but every time you bring your boat or kayak to the lake, you have to have it inspected prior on the water. And we get a lot of people that won't do that. But we do stress that it is a one-time fee, but you do have to have it inspected every single time you go to put it on the water. So it keeps people from bringing stuff in all year round by taking their boat other places. We understand that a lot of people, it never leaves the lake, or they take it home, they clean it, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes back out, we still have to do that inspection per the city council every time.
Right.
Correct.
Only if it comes in through the bait house area.
Correct. We can't help it if it goes out in somewhere else, but
But you're only supposed to be launching the kayaks through that area.
Technically.
That's
You
true.
can't go
Any-
around the
any-
lake and pull up and launch. So
Right.
you're breaking rules by not doing that.
Also, there's also a concern, if I may, guys. I mean, we can't go ahead and finish. Go ahead.
I didn't know that was a rule, that you could only put a kayak in. And I mean, there's no kayak ramp, or there's nothing that says this is where you launch a kayak. I mean,
Well, you have to report to the bait house for your inspection. So therefore, you're going to have to be at the bait shop to get your inspection.
Makes sense.
but you can.
I mean, you
Go
can't go
launch
over
it.
to the spillway and get your inspection and launch there.
Well, I tell
Or-
people that we tell people when they come back out to the lake, they need to bring them back to the bait house so we can do it. If they're taking their boats out of the water, you need to come back here so we can know that you're on the lake even. I mean, what if there's an accident or something and.
Yeah,
and
it
you
helps
just
keep
need to
track.
let us know, and that way we can go look at it.
in the rules and the regulations for the lake that you guys have in your pamphlet, underneath the boats and boating, the third paragraph says boats of any kind must be launched from the boat ramp at the permit office only. All watercraft must be inspected every time prior to launching.
That, yes, but that's not immediately available to the public, and that's an
Actually,
issue.
It
we do
is.
hand
Oh,
these
that's on the
out to
brochure?
everybody.
That's on the brochure? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I thought you said it was in our regulations.
But the only thing that I would throw in on that is I have never considered a kayak or what's the board you stand on? I've never considered either one of those a boat. So with what you just read, had I read it myself, absorbed every word of it, I would not have thought that also included a kayak.
Then
I've
why
never
did you
heard
say
anybody
it?
refer to a kayak as a boat until I spoke to Nicholas about it.
It's a non-motorized.
It's a
Non-motorized
you guys
boat.
have it
That's-
specialized
It's
as
in
a
the-
non-motorized boat.
that way.
Yeah, that's how I've always thought of it too, yeah.
Non-motorized.
Non-motorized watercraft, but
Nicholas.
One thing that I do want to kind of bring up, which is a good point, there are Airbnbs on Lake Wabunsee, and I have been in contact with several of them, and they are renting from me for their clients that come in. Now, with that said, do they still need to go to the boathouse to have those boats inspected, or do they launch directly from that Airbnb? Because technically, it's not launching on the city side. It's launching from that public
Are
residence.
you taking them
But
kayaks?
But that
I'm
lake is
taking
ours.
my
It's not
kayaks
theirs.
to that residence, and they're launching from there.
They're also launching it off of property that's owned by the state or owned by the city.
But are they getting it inspected before you take them over there?
Nope.
They're in violation.
Oh,
Then,
nope.
well, what about all the other kayaks on that property then?
Well, I don't know how they're doing it, but if you have a kayak on the lake and you're not getting it inspected and
But
tick,
how
and stickered, you're in violation.
And there's a lot of boats out there on those
Well-
docks that don't get inspected.
Two
Well, if they're
wrongs
just
don't make
staying-
a right.
Well, if they're just staying on the dock, if they register at the boathouse, get inspected, and it stays on their dock for the next 6 months, I don't know how we can. It's not like every time it's leaving the lake. It's the trick, right?
Yeah. Kayaks are a lot easier, just carry where you want, put it in the water at your dock, there, at your cabin. I mean, it's,
Well,
it's a lot easier to get away with, I guess is what I'm
well,
saying.
yeah, and I'm not saying getting away with it is not the question.
Yeah.
The question is, what is the rule? If you get your kayak at your home, get inspected, and it never leaves that dock, you wouldn't need to have it inspected, right?
Now, when you say never leaves the dock, you mean it goes from dock to the lake, dock to the lake, dock
Yeah,
to the lake.
yeah.
But it doesn't go
In a
from the
different
dock to a different lake.
body
Yeah.
of water. Yeah.
We have no control over that either. That's all based on assumption.
Nicholas, do you-
Probability, but still assumption.
Nicholas, do you allow your renters to remove the boat from the water and take it somewhere else?
Say one more time.
The B&Bs that you're working with, that you rent your canoes to, do you allow them to remove the canoe from the waters and take it to another location outside of Lake Wabunsee?
Once I drop off the boats at that particular point, I drop off the boats and I typically leave. I do not have GPS trackers on my boats at this time, so I cannot answer that accurately. However, I do not.
Hey, you gotta take them nowhere.
I can answer that accurately.
Well, I just want to make sure that somebody didn't get a wild hair and say, let's take it to Total Creek on
Right.
Sunday, since we've been here already on Saturday. Maybe something in writing with your contract with them that tells them they cannot remove the boat from.
From the place that I drop it off at.
Mhm.
I can put that on there, but I can't guarantee you that they'll.
No, I understand that. I understand that.
Like we can't guarantee.
We can't guarantee we're gonna catch every speeder that runs through town either, but you know what I'm saying? There's rules on that as well.
And
Um,
if I can say
Cheers, sure, go ahead.
And I think it's your responsibility to follow the rules of the lake and of the city to, at least before you deliver them to your clients, that you have them inspected.
I clean my boats very thoroughly, and I
That's
have-
not the point.
I have talked with the State House and we've come to an agreement on that.
That's not the point.
You're right, Michelle.
No, he's gonna,
They have to be inspected at the bait
he's gonna
shop.
bring them over and we're gonna look at them.
Yes.
So it's been resolved.
Mary Jane,
We, when we are doing the boat permits through the lake house and we are giving them out on kayaks, paddle boats, whatever it may be, non-motorized, we express to them that when they are getting these permits, they do need to bring the boats over to be inspected upon taking off and putting. Whether they do it or not, we can't keep up on that, but we do express to them that they are supposed to.
okay. Now, I've got one other concern, and that is the decals that are issued. The city, from the bait house, from the city, wherever they get them, and they're given to the customer to attach them to their boat. I really don't have a problem with that. I do have a problem with us not specifying where those decals need to be placed.
The problem with that is that each individual person with their own boat, if I was to go out and want to put one on their boat, I may not be putting it where it's supposed to go because they want it in a certain spot.
Well, let me just reemphasize what I just said.
Well, we have
We
some
don't
people
have
that
any
put their
location.
one
I don't,
over together.
if we ever get to the point where we've got somebody out there patrolling the lake, they should be able to have the ability to look at one spot and one spot only on that boat to determine if it legally belongs on the lake. By allowing the customer to put the decal anywhere they want on the boat, you're gonna have that decal all over the place.
No, that's not true. Most of them are on the helm.
That's where
One
most
on
of
one
them,
side, one on
Yes.
the
they
other.
all should
I've
be,
never seen
they should-
another one
well, I'm
willy-nilly.
I'm
That's where
just
the KA
saying,
numbers are, right?
Yes.
Yeah, 'cause I
Normally
think
it's
that was
either in
the,
front of or behind the KA numbers.
Yeah.
whatever-
Does
whatever
anybody-
it
that
is.
was nearby.
I'm gonna throw an example at you. Does everybody know where a postage stamp goes on an envelope that you're mailing? Who knows where it goes? Everybody? Anybody that don't know? Is there anybody that don't know?
I did put-
You know what? I worked in the post office for 32 years, and we would see envelopes where the stamp was at the bottom right-hand corner, the bottom left-hand corner, the top left corner, and on the back of the envelope, because people don't know where to put them. So my point is, we need to specify. Kansas Wildlife and Parks requires you to put your boat registration number on a certain place on that boat. I don't see any reason why we can't designate that they put it directly below Wildlife and Parks. So if we've got somebody out on the lake,
I can see with that is that some of the boats, if you go directly under it, some of the boats, they lower into the water enough, you may not be able to see it. So you wanna go either on the front of, onto one side or to the other side so that it gets caught.
Can't we simply say within 6 inches of the KA
99%
members
of them
and let them
right
do
there.
what they want?
That's up to you guys. You guys should probably put into this where you want them.
I understand that.
Not be
I just want to clarify that we should
Yeah.
not be allowing them to just
Well,
put that
wouldn't in the
sticker
world when I
anywhere they
stuck it
want.
on? The other thing I think,
Yes, yes.
the other thing that I feel strongly about is you should watch them apply the sticker. Wherever they're putting it, you should make damn sure if they bought the sticker for that watercraft, you're watching them put it on that. So they're not tagging a kayak and then they go home and put it on their giant pontoon. I think you need to be watching them stick.
And I will say that Nicholas and I even talked about that. And his suggestion was, and I agree with it, that we have a different color sticker for a different class of boat.
That's true, because
So,
we
here
can't
again-
monitor.
Here
They can
again,
come in and tell us, and a lot of the boat, lake people do. A lot of them will come in and say, my horsepower is this, my horsepower is this, or I have this many kayaks, this many boats, blah, blah, blah. I can't verify what they have.
right,
So
Understand.
I'm going off of their word.
right.
All I can do is, I can't even at this point assign that the 166 horsepower gets this specific number and that the kayak gets this specific number. We have not been able to do that this year due
Right.
to.
Right. I'm with you.
But if you're looking at the different horsepowers, how many color stickers? is
Not
that?
all
like
of them.
everybody else.
Well,
Not all of
I have
them.
a strong concern about
I was
different.
like,
You
that's
have
a
a different
lot
one
of
for
You don't-
every year
You don't,
anyway?
well, it's not, to me, it's not any different than a license plate on your car. You get a 2022 sticker when you renew it. Next year, you get a 2023 sticker when you renew it. You don't get a new license plate.
And it's a
But
different
each
color.
sticker is a different. And that's the way we do them at the lake.
Yeah, but you,
Each year is
you
a
do an
different color.
entire sticker,
Yeah.
the whole
Yes.
thing, the whole thing.
Well,
I'm
it's the
just-
same thing. The
Well,
stickers.
I
Size of
understand
the
what you're saying about the same thing. I'm just saying that a one-time sticker with the number on it stays with that boat for the lifetime of that boat. And the only thing we're adding to it is a little sticker that says what year it's good for.
What do you say?
I don't know how.
Getting lifetime sticker with a year sticker that goes on it.
Because right as it is now, every single year, everybody gets a brand new sticker with a brand new number on it.
No,
Well,
because
no.
every year we have a different color. We can sit at the boathouse and see
That,
what
That-
color they
that's
But
a,
do you give them the same number?
No,
No,
because
that-
they
that-
know.
There's no way to check that because we have no record of it.
Yes, we do in the boathouse.
They record the permit.
They are
number.
recording their
They
numbers
don't
that they are getting.
give out the same number to that person each year.
They do or don't.
They record the permit number to the person,
And that's
but
it.
there's no way to give out the same number each year. is what-
Why not?
I mean,
It's all
Are
computerized,
they
is it not?
printing it?
No, it's
No.
not, sir.
Permit
The
stickers are already
computer did not get
available.
up and going until June 3rd. And 90% of our boat permits had come in prior to June 3rd. So every one of them got handwritten out, receipts. On the receipts, it just says how many boat permits they got, the number that they've got, like 393, 397, however many permits. It does not say which size, which number goes to which boats.
See, and I have a question then. Do the lake people not have to bring their boat over? If he has to take his boat in and get it inspected, and if I buy a boat and I gotta bring mine in to put it on the water, why are the lake people not coming over to the boathouse
They're
and having their
supposed
stuff
to.
inspected so they can give them a sticker?
They're
I assume they
supposed
did at the
to.
beginning of the season.
No, they are not.
Well,
Half of them are waiting for the prorated.
Yeah, we have no control over where they leave the lake. We're not
Okay, so we
not.
should-
So they, how do we monitor?
Oh, so if you wait long enough, you don't have to
All
pay
right,
the price.
we did have to try to encourage people to get in.
Yes.
I was in there when we
Let's,
came in and they had.
Sounds like a work session to me.
Hey, guys, we got three or four conversations going on at the same time. I think it's advisable if every one of us respects someone else and let them talk so everybody can hear what's being said, okay? So please. Now, you seem to have been more vocal than anybody else, Mary Jane, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and finish
My
what
other
you're
thing
saying.
I wanna bring up is that due to ASHA, things have changed as far as some of our recording. We still cannot record record the boat permit numbers into Astra. It is not set up this way. I have tried, I have contacted them, so on and so forth. The best I can get is that your POS where it's got the sales for the permits and the guest fishings and the fishing permits, I can get a name and an address to it, but I cannot get boat permit numbers assigned to those people. All I can do is print it off and handwrite their permit numbers on the sheet just to associate them to a name, not to a designated boat.
I have to agree with Danny. This is something we're gonna have to talk about in length for
Oh.
various things, So, we'll do that. We'll have an open meeting where the public can come in and throw their 2 cents worth in as well, okay? All right.
And the next part of this,
I
Astra.
don't mean to cut you off, but we're here for the kayak fee complaint. The next meeting is for the lake stuff.
Right, and
We do have a very full agenda.
But part of the
The
kayak
only
complaint,
Part of the complaint was about that.
Okay.
The only other thing I've got
Sounds like
is
we're
on
just going off topic.
on the Astra, are we supposed to start prorating? Because I have had several people come in and ask for the prorating when it begins because they think it's already begun. One came in this weekend, bought their boat permit sometime the end of July last year, wanted to know if it was good until July of this year. So I expressed to them that it was not, that technically we don't open the bait shop until April. So we have only been running for 9 weeks. What is the prorating? Is there prorating? So on and so forth.
As far as I'm aware, from what I've learned, it's we do prorate and it starts July 15th, correct?
It starts after Labor Day.
That's what I thought it was after.
Okay,
What is
because
that?
5 days after Labor Day
July
weekend.
15th.
There's no prorating until after Labor Day.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But you've had people come in,
Like the
And say
Wednesday
that they
after
have been
Labor Day,
getting
something.
they have been
prorated
getting
already last year.
prorated already. They're having customers come in saying that this time last year we
Prorating
were
on
already being
the
prorated.
permits?
Yeah.
And then
But
they
they haven't been
leave.
selling it that way, have they?
No,
Okay.
Well,
Good.
that's- Yeah.
Might check the city website.
Let's move on.
Well, if they say, I did this last year, point at the calendar, tell them it's 2022.
I expressed to them this year is different people running it. We stick a little more to the rules and regulations that you guys have put forward.
So-
To this
That's a
lovely
very
pamphlet.
diplomatic way of putting it.
I refer it all back to this
they
lovely
can
plan.
just
pamphlet.
tell them if they disagree with that, they can come to the city hall at a
something
Okay,
meeting.
so it is not until after September, after Labor Day.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
after the
Okay.
Labor Day
Yeah.
holiday.
And it
From-
is
And the
Is it on
permits.
this?
Stephanie.
our
Hang on.
city website, and I have not updated this. Any boating permits sold between July 15th and September 15th will be discounted 25% of the full price. Permits sold after September 15th will be discounted 50% of the original price.
That needs to be updated.
Big time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't
It's
think
not
that
in
we
this.
should be
It does tell
prorating.
you where to put your boat sticker though.
I don't know why it's on
On
the
the
city.
handwritten
Yes.
boat
Well, then
permits
change the
this
city
year,
website.
we are writing that they
That's
are
not
good
too
from
difficult.
April
So then
of
take it.
2022.
That's probably why that's an abstract, because that would have been me setting that up. So.
Yeah.
And I'm
Thank
pretty
you.
sure I
Boat
went
permits
off of
this
our city
year,
website.
good
and
from
sent
April
that to them.
2022 to April 2023.
Yeah. I'll just
Because the
take that.
bait house doesn't open again until April next year, once it
And
closes.
see, I disagree with that. It should be calendar year, January 1st to
But
January
who's
to
gonna, but
December
nobody's out
31st.
there to sell them beginning January 1st.
That's true, but when they come in and buy it in April, it's gonna expire on the 31st of December that same year. They can come down to City Hall on January 2nd, buy a permit, can they not? Am I wrong on that, guys?
I don't think so.
Can they come in on January 2nd and buy a boat permit? Through you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah.
Just because the bait shop itself isn't open doesn't give
No,
them the
yeah,
right
I
to
have
Here
vote
for
for free.
convenience, but there are other avenues.
Yeah, I have people come in early and get it, and then I just inform them that they can't get on until.
Okay, I wanna move on, please. I know that's a different subject from, we got offhand. I talked about the location of the decal and who's responsible for putting it on there. That's what I talked about. So now I wanna ask, go ahead.
I'm sorry, not to hold us up any longer than we need to, but we do need to make it clear that we're not prorating on July 15th.
Right.
And so that everybody knows at least a month in advance that we are no longer doing that.
So I'll take that off the city website. So
Correct. And
permit
if you
sold
could put that in
after
your
September
minutes, too.
15th?
What?
September 15th?
I would prefer that we don't prorate at all, but I mean, we'd have to, I just wanted to make sure that the July was gonna be off of the
I will
thing. We
just
can talk about
take
the other at
All
another
of it
time.
off until further notice.
And we can discuss that later too.
Can you?
Do we want to stipulate right now that you
Okay,
put your
well, I'm-
sticker within 12 inches?
The next meeting will
I
be
think
then,
we
so it'll
need
just
to,
be a
or
couple
even
weeks
within
before they're
6 inches
expecting
of
you to get prorated,
Why
so
don't
we're
you
trying
say that out
to
loud
not
in front of
upset
everybody?
people.
Either in
So-
front of or behind.
For sure, we're going to change the
Bottom line.
15th, the September is up in the air.
She just said that the pamphlet has a statement of where to put it.
Where's that?
And it is a state.
Where's it
It
say sticker
says
sticker?
boats. Sorry, I just flipped it around a whole bunch. Says, oh my god. In addition, boat and motor permits are required to be placed on both sides of the boat under the state numbers prior to operation on lake waters.
Under the state numbers. Now, is the state,
already-
last time I registered a boat 25 years ago, the state number went on the right
That
pole.
is correct, that's where it's at.
Now that says, almost gave me the impression on both sides, but there's not one on both sides now, is that correct?
No, both
Yes.
sides.
There is a number on both sides. So they have to
Starboard
put,
and
so the way this brochure reads, they can put it on either side. Is that
Well,
it?
it comes with 2 stickers, they can put one on each side.
Okay, all right,
Everybody's got.
fair enough.
Oh my,
Then
then you
that
definitely
answers
need to make
that.
sure
Stick it wherever you want.
then
Yes.
you definitely need to watch them stick them on. Because they can put one on 2 different watercraft.
Most people are pretty honest though. They go out
Most
there and put
people,
them
yes.
on.
Nicholas, go ahead, you have the floor.
Sorry to keep asking this. So on a kayak, where do you want them placed? Because they don't have state stickers on kayaks.
Are they not required to be?
Nope.
Okay, then those need, in my opinion, they need to go on the front of the boat. Right, or since you got 2 of them, one on each side.
Just somewhere plainly visible, I would think would be ideal.
Alright, I just wanted to clarify that because kayaks and paddle boards and I believe paddle boats do not have state stickers.
Right, okay, well, when we have our meeting to decide what our fees are and things of this nature, we'll put that in there so it's in writing and everybody else knows. Now, I want to follow up. Are you satisfied with the letter and the complaint and the resolutions that we've discussed?
Yes, I just like to see the kayak fee go down in price, but yeah.
That's
So would I.
future
It's been brought
discussion.
up, we're gonna talk about it.
Alright.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap that one up. Okay, we have a letter in here about the ownership of the pontoon boat.
Is that okay for me to address?
Yes, you may. Listen up, please.
We have a pontoon boat that is at the lake that is partially submerged, is my understanding. I sent a letter, I think copies were provided, to what I understood were to be the 3 possible owners of this pontoon boat. A review of state records revealed that William Ridinger was the registered owner. That was obviously an old record. Mr. Brian Johnston contacted myself, and then I proposed that he contact. Would I be wrong?
No, nothing.
Okay.
I'm laughing
In
at
the letter.
I'm Brian Johnston, not Brian Johnson of the
Yeah.
DCDC.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. And anyway, he indicated to me that he was the owner. He purchased it from Mr. Ridinger. I said, well, I thank you for telling me that, but I would like to have you so designate on the record somewhere officially if you can't be there at the meeting. And he kindly sent this letter. And I don't know, is Mr. Ridinger here?
No.
No.
Okay. Well, I believe that, absent there being some other indication that Mr. Ridinger claims an ownership interest in it, that Mr. Johnson probably has the superior claim to the 2, and the question would be whether Mr. Schneider is here.
Shutter.
Shutter?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Did I get the name all wrong?
Not here either.
None of those people are here.
It is Shutter.
I was gonna.
Neither one of them are here, Shutter or Schneider.
Is he at
Bill Ridinger,
but is
Brian Johnston, Paul Shutter. None of the 3 are here.
well, but that's the question is whether I get the proper notice, because I looked up an address for Paul H.
I thought I knew.
Well, what I had was I think that's, I can't remember if one of them was that number or not.
Shutters did make contact with me though, not Paul, but his brother, and said it's not their boat, and it's Brian's. So I don't
Okay.
know if that's good enough.
Well, I guess that's the question. The city decides at this point whether you'll honor the claim in light of no one else appearing and claiming ownership. I have no
So
evidence
he-
that Mr. Shutter owns it.
So saying that he owns it, he will be paying those.
I don't know
back
what he's,
fees, right?
what we do next is a question that's separate from whether or not you guys are going to designate, whether you're going to agree that you're going to treat him as the owner since he has claimed ownership. Meaning that no one else, if anybody else seems to think that they are the owners of this boat, they've had an opportunity now to address the council. And we're going to treat it as though Mr. Johnston is the owner because he claims it and no one else has. Is that an acceptable outcome for your letter?
Yes, he's now claimed it.
And in writing.
And in line.
And in writing.
Do we have to put a legal notice in the
Yeah,
paper?
Shutters have moved it
Not
around and
yet.
tied it to.
Well, whatever
Individuals' thoughts.
individuals have done unlawfully without permission of the owner, the claimed owner, is not our problem. We have somebody who's claiming an ownership, so the next step would be, since it is a nuisance watercraft, to assess it as under the nuisance watercraft ordinance and give the appropriate notice. And I understand that there is a request for him to be assessed the past due boating charges, which could be included in that.
Which I think was since 2012 was the last time it was registered.
Yeah, and he's claiming he's owned it for approximately 10 years. So 2012 is also the last known registration date to Kansas Wildlife and Parks.
Yeah. So
it
it
all
all
lines up in that respect.
So if that's the will of the council, I will go ahead and begin the process of both of those items, which requires a notice of removal, and then I'll give you an opportunity, if he does not remove it in a timely manner or repair it, that agents of the city can remove it.
So my next thing is what about the buckets of bolts and different things that have fallen and sunken down to the bottom of that shoreline right there? Does that have to be cleaned up and removed?
That should be at his cost also.
And there's tons of debris over at the end of that cove that was frozen in ice and now has floated either up under other people's docks that's from that boat, and there's picture documentation of it.
Well, I
So
mean,
who
all you have
cleans
is
that up?
all you have is an ordinance that says that if there is a nuisance watercraft, it can be removed. You don't necessarily have anything that says that you guys can charge them for cleaning up other things.
Pieces of.
Well, I mean,
Watercraft?
technically pieces, yeah, I would say so. That's fine. But we're just trying to get the big thing taken care of. So I would assume that folks, if they have a problem with cleanliness, that there are areas that they take care of it, because there's going to be a while.
And here's my concern is if they had a welder tank with the gas and everything that was half frozen in ice, half not, has that sunk, and will it come up to where somebody runs over it with a propeller and have an explosion? Because it's disappeared. So where has
I
it
thought
gone?
that somebody went out there and got on that boat and was taking stuff.
Somebody has gone out there and taken stuff off that boat, but
But
if
it
they
was in the
swim it
water.
into the water and
Well,
fish
here's
that out, or
what
does it sink?
here's what we can do. We can put in a notice that we're going to abate every problematic nuisance that resulted from that boat.
There you go.
And then whatever the city wishes to do and clean up, as long as they're not taking property from somebody else, and I'm assuming that we can all trace it to that boat, hopefully, and not start taking things that belong to other people.
Everything's documented in photos.
Okay, well, if that's the will of the council, we can start that process. Is that acceptable to everybody? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And you contacted me. Did you want to say something to that?
May I say something that will sound really, really petty, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Somebody from the city came out, an adult person with two younger kids. But, because I'm older, I can't gauge age. I have no idea how old they are. Okay, they came out and they were trying to get this thing to float. I did not see them do this. We had some plastic chairs, and they are plastic, they're worth nothing, but we had them up close to our where the stairs start down. Anyway, they moved one of them down, put it on Ivan's dock. So I was gonna go down and try to carry it up, which is kind of hard when you're my age and carrying that thing upstairs. But it wasn't there, so I looked around, it's in the water. Okay, I cannot get that thing out of the water. I wonder if maybe if somebody from the city's out there working anyway, could they get that water for us and bring it up the stairs? I know that.
And I'm sorry, I guess I did misunderstand you earlier. It was a city employee that did that, because they haven't been down there to.
It was, no, she said from the city, she just means.
Oh, okay.
Persons from the city of Eskridge.
Okay,
children.
sorry, I wanted that clarified, I thought, okay.
Okay, I.
Was it
when you said something from the city?
When they were messing with that boat?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I did hear the part up
These
there.
people
Two
were,
kids.
they were working on the boat, trying to get it up.
Right.
So if it's not possible, it's not possible, but we can't get that thing out of the water, and it's not too far out. A younger person could do it, but I may be 7 and I cannot do that.
I'm glad you said younger person, ma'am, because that takes me out of the question.
Certainly takes me out of it.
And me too.
Okay.
Well, we'll address it. I have a meeting with the employees in the morning and I'll address that with them, see if somebody can't get out there and get that chair out for you.
Okay, thank you. I didn't see them do this. I may be totally wrong, but I don't think I am.
Okay. Thank you for
Thank
bringing
you.
that up. Now,
That's,
so we're down with Brian Johnson and the pontoon boat
for now.
for now, at the moment. All right, next
2-minute
thing,
intermission.
next thing. Next thing on the agenda is law enforcement with Dolly Mercer.
Alright. I'm already exhausted, and so I'm gonna be really nice here. Just gonna talk about different reasons why different events that have happened over the last couple of weeks, why we need an officer and stuff like that. Rather than do that, where this evening has carried on quite long, could we have Stephanie contact Deputy Eric and invite him to the next meeting? And because when you guys were talking about this grant thing, he talked to me about, there is a grant out there right now that puts money towards more cameras and then connects them with the sheriff's department. They have it at Maplehead, different things. Sounded like a really good chance to get some more eyes around the city, except, and then as far as an officer goes, I'll address that some more at that time. We don't have a timetable now. We don't have to get anything on the ballot because with what you guys discussed tonight about the neutral revenue, we don't have to worry about, if you guys want to hire a marshal, you guys can impose a mill levy on your own. And so, so that's what I'd like to do, is do it at the next meeting and invite Deputy Eric. He can present that to you.
I read last week that Deputy Ricky Williams is going to be here tonight, and I'm surprised he's not
I saw
here.
him in his front yard on my way here. I almost stopped and reminded
Well,
him about the meeting, but he had company.
He
in his
had a lot
driveway, so I
of
just
people
kept
out there
on
in
going.
front of his house as I drove by coming here tonight as well, so I didn't stop and talk to him either.
I did a little research, because I like to have numbers for something to go off of. Talked to Abby Amick, the Wentz County clerk. According to her figurations, putting 1 mil on the city of Eskridge would generate us $1,810 a year. So 2 mils would be just under 4,000. The city operates with about 45 to 42 mils a year for operating costs. So by calculations, if we put a mill levy on, we'd almost have to be going up to doubling taxes to get to a $50,000 to $80,000 salary for a cop.
So our current mill levy is what, 40?
We used 42 last
42
year,
is
well,
current.
45 total, but our neutral revenue rate's 42, just above that. So that's what we get, total mills for the city's yearly way to operate. So we'd have to essentially pretty much double that in mills. We'd have to double taxes almost
I have a
to,
question. I'm sorry, I'm ignorant, but when the food sales tax gets axed, will that change this at all? Will it have any
I think
effect?
it's a property.
no,
Oh,
it-
okay.
It's a
it
sales
wouldn't.
tax.
And-
It would just affect the money we get now for sales tax from the city.
Right.
Okay.
Because right now, her notes was 1 mil equals $1,810 per year. And we're operating with about 42 now. And to get anywhere near 50 to 80, we need at least 44 more to get there. So that's a significant increase to double
Did you
taxes.
ask her how much that would be per household? Like if a house was $50,000, how much it would increase that
No,
by?
I wanted,
Yes, double. Take what they do now and double it.
Whatever it
I
is
mean,
you
I-
pay now, you double
It's
it.
not hard, man. But, I don't know.
That's pretty much it.
I thought I had a 25. I went ahead and was trying to do the 25,000 for a part-time one because I didn't like that number of doubling 44 or whatever. Apparently, it's lost in the shuffle.
Well,
But I just wanted to throw out what I had gathered from Abby at the courthouse. Sorry.
I was just gonna say for 50,000 a year, it's 28 mils, so it's not a full double or anything.
Well, but there's equipment, there's.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
This
it's
the
Right.
salary is not, that's just a start.
Yeah, the startup, price, that's true. All right,
Medium.
seeing as how we are gonna discuss this now down a little bit. I'm waiting for the next bullet hole in my window. Because
The next one.
the next,
Bullet
I've
hole.
had my window shot out.
Okay, bullet
in my
holes. Okay, I
bullet
didn't hear
hole,
what this is. Okay.
And so the guy that lives behind is right here, and he's a vet. And last year they shot 2 times at one of his vehicles and put holes in his vehicles, and yes, they reported it all. And one into his porch. Now, this last week they shot his thermostat that he had on the edge of his house. They shot it out, and so it has begun again. Whoever has, I would say it's when he described the bullet and showed, it's just a little piece of a thing. It looked like the pellet gun that was used to shoot through my window. So I'm just waiting for the vandalism to start. Also, we have trucks and cars driving down this street right here at least 30 miles an hour. They're not going to be able to stop if a kid decides to dart out into the street. They're going to have a hard time stopping. They need to be slowed down. We've had petty theft around town. We've had lawnmower stolen. We've had lumber taken off of somebody's porch when he was working on his house. So there's just petty stuff going on. And then around the city, in the country, there's things that are being sold, but that stuff is probably being brought back in here because the people that were caught on the property live in this town. And there was a police report filled out on that, but because the property was taken out of the garage, set on the ground next to the car that they were driving, but it wasn't in the car, it was decided up there not to press charges against those people, which doesn't make any sense to me.
Sure it does. They don't have proof that they actually took it.
They were there.
The product was
And if
outside
there
those
was
people's
stuff-
vehicle. Is that correct?
The product was in the garage.
It was in their garage. Is the garage locked or is it
when
unlocked?
the owners came there and saw them and prevented them from leaving, they took a report. They got the police came there. They took a report, and they said the reason that they were there is because they were looking for gas. And yet, when it was time to leave, they started their vehicle up and left.
Just keep going.
Yeah. So anyway, and there's footprints in the snow from where they had. Anyway, so somebody went back 2 days later and stole the welder, and then last week they went back and stole the rest of everything. People should be able to have their own property, not be vandalized and things stolen.
Is that the individual by Dover? you're talking
Yes.
about?
Yeah,
So that's a county issue, not a city of Eskridge
but
issue.
they live here.
Well, I
and-
live here too, but that don't stop me from going to
But-
Topeka and doing something I shouldn't be doing.
Well, all right, and on that, whenever we have petty theft and stuff like that, and they know they live here, I would think that they would gather up enough as evidence to search your properties and see if
But
that's.
that's not our call. That's the law enforcement's call to do
But I'm
that.
telling you, that's why we need those people observed and watched, because how do we know that they aren't?
And how many cops is it gonna take to watch 24/7, 365 days a year, Dolly? Because if we only
You-
work them 8 hours a day, they're gonna know what 8 hours that these people are working. They're not gonna commit crimes while these people are working. They're not gonna do that.
If you
It's
have
just
a
like the
smart, if
deputy
you
in-
have a marshal that has got to have a brain, he's not gonna have a schedule.
If you got a marshal with half a brain, he ain't working 24 hours a day. He's gonna have limitations. It's just like Deputy Ricky Williams said in his feed on Eskridge Watch, which I know you read everything that goes through there. He
Yeah.
said, when I'm off duty, I am off duty. Call this number and let Wabunsee County dispatcher send out an officer.
That's what I tell
Now,
people.
if they tell me that I have to go do something when I'm off duty, then I'll go take care of it.
You were around here when we had a city marshal, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
And you didn't see the benefit of that?
No, I didn't see the purpose of it back then.
Oh, that's not.
Were you
probably
around when they
weren't.
shut the post office doors every night at 5 o'clock and you couldn't get into the post office to check your own mailbox?
What?
The post office boxes at the Eskridge post office. Were you around town when they closed those doors at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and you could not, as a citizen, come home at 6 in the evening from work in Topeka and go to your post office box and get your
Amazon
mail?
has nothing to do
It
with
sure it does,
Yeah, they're
because
breaking
it's
in
something that the
Vandalizing the post
marshal
office.
was checking doors to make sure they're all
Did
locked.
you not have a camera in that post office to see who was?
You have a
going in there?
camera in that post office that prevents theft amongst the employees. That's their security, but the doors are open now constantly. We don't have anybody, they don't go lock the doors at night at the post office, so you can get your mail at 2 in the morning if you want to.
And your point being?
My point is, we would have to have an officer staff 24/7 in order to try to prevent what you're saying goes on.
So.
And by the way, just a few days ago, we went to a ball game and we left town going towards Mission Valley Road and to Auburn because we're going to Carbondale. We're going to Carbondale. And what did I see downtown? But a deputy sheriff from Wabunsee County with his lights on had somebody pulled over. So they are here and they
I
are
know
checking.
that. I
They-
see them. They come for half an hour, park on Main Street, and there's times when they drive around and stuff. They stop. I say hi. We talk and visit about different things going on.
Please
And
don't
they
stretch
leave.
this out, Dolly.
I do appreciate them. I appreciate them a lot.
Well, my point is we can't afford 24/7 police protection by the city of Eskridge.
I still say that having an officer is better than having nothing at all.
Okay, then
Because you have somebody
then
that can
let's raise
respond to
this.
incidents and
Let's
stuff.
get the money that's necessary and we'll hire Wabunsee County to come in at $25 an hour. And we'll establish how many hours
I
that we
was not
need.
against that, but you know, and Brett
Donna,
knows.
you've always been against it. Every meeting
No,
I've
no,
come to,
no,
you
no,
wanted your
no.
own. But I'm not gonna argue with you. I'm not gonna argue. We're gonna move on, okay? Because
Well, thanks a
you're gonna,
lot. You've let everybody else talk for an hour about.
and you know what, Dolly?
votes and
You
stuff like
said
that.
this and you said this yourself. We will table it to the next meeting.
And that's
And
fine.
that's when
And
you
then he
bring
brought up
Deputy
that.
Eric will come in.
And then he brought up.
So
that.
let's discuss it again at the next meeting.
Why don't we do that?
Okay, I've already got it written down, tabled to June 27th. And Deputy Eric, what's his last name?
I can't
William,
pronounce it. Can
or
we-
no.
Eric
Kirsch.
Kirsch. Or Rick Williams could do it too, but I imagine Kirsch is the one that was talking to me about it.
Kirsch is the one that is
I would
a
call him.
city part-time in Maple Hill.
No, they went ahead and hired their own full-time force.
All right, next item is weed eating and mowing applications.
You guys had two people turn in applications. AJ Rubio and Robin Baker. For weed eating at the lake.
I noticed one thing on these applications that's not on here, and that is what the potential employee is requesting to be paid.
It's on Baker's.
No, I think Baker's discussed what they
Oh,
got
sorry.
paid at somewhere else.
You're right. I read that wrong.
Yeah, no, it's not. That's just a,
Probably something that we can get revised so that we've got a starting point.
Yeah.
I talked to AJ Rubio and I've talked to Robin Baker. AJ told me that he would like to get $15 an hour. And Robin said 15 would be nice. And left it at that. So we have to decide, what are we gonna pay people to carry around a gas powered weed eater? And I would, if we're gonna do this, I would prefer 15 hours a week at between 8 a.m. and 11. Start at 8, stop at 11. That gets them out of the heat of the day as well. And the primary duties would be around the lake, and the secondary duties would be within the city as needed. That's my thoughts. I did not promise a job to any of them. I told them I'd get the applications in to the council and they can decide.
Do you know what we pay our current part-time mowers?
$11 an hour.
But he's on a riding mower, right? And that's Bennett,
Mhm.
right? That George.
And he has a flex schedule. He doesn't have to
Correct.
report at any certain time. He can just do the hours as he wants to do them.
I don't know if he reports into Mike. That might
I
be
just
happening,
meant
but
like he'll work on a Sunday or a Saturday or whatever else morning. It sounds like Terry wants to put restrictions on when this person mandatorily has to be there.
I do.
Why is that?
Because I want to keep track of what the employees are doing. don't
I
want
was
them-
just curious
I'm
why
just-
you
I'm just
wanted
telling you.
one and not the other, because the others don't have a set schedule. They come in when, like I said, they can work on a Sunday, a Saturday, or whatever. So
I'm talking about George Bennett.
all part-time employees that we've ever had,
public officer
including the public
was
officer.
the same way.
I think work hours for a public officer would need to be discussed whenever we hire one. What those hours should be, what their availability is.
And the mowing,
With who? The part-time help that we currently have or potential hires?
the part that we currently have.
Okay, and we only have one, is that correct? George Bennett. I don't have a problem with George Bennett. He seems to have, from what I've seen with George, I don't even know the man. I just seen him, I know where he lives, and I've seen him out on the mower. But every time I've seen him, he's been pretty diligent in doing the work that he's doing. Now you grin and snicker about that.
I'm not grinning and snickering. You're just not answering my question.
I don't have.
Are we
I
gonna
am
allow
getting
one
there.
person?
We're going to allow George Bennett to do what he wants when he mows because he's done it for
Okay, I
years.
wanted you to say that.
Okay.
And we're going to restrict the new person. I
That's-
wanted you to
that's right.
say that.
All right, how about I restrict the new person up until the time that we trust them to do the job on their own? Any difference there? Just like a new hire, when you get hired onto a job, you're on probation. Some of them 90 days, some of them 6 months, some of them even a year. And then once they pass that probation, then the tendency is to slacken up a little bit on what they do. You guys that work see that? You two, you're no longer employed. When you were employed, did you see that?
I'm self-employed and I'm employed.
Okay, all right. So who do you report to, Miss Self-Employed?
Well, I'm my own boss, yes,
Okay,
but I
and do
am
you hire
employed.
you hire people to help you?
Oh my God.
Well, I'm just you're not convincing me that you can tell me that what I'm saying is incorrect.
I guess my
That's
curiosity,
why I asked the
my
people that have
question
jobs.
here is with AJ, I'm assuming he's doing sports stuff. They have weights until 8 a.m. So if the schedule doesn't work for the employee you're hiring, are they allowed to say, no, that doesn't work for me? Can I adjust?
If he says it doesn't work for him, the hours that we would want him to work, then I don't hire him.
Not at all. Just for reading, even if it's 30
I've got
minutes.
somebody
just-
else. I've got somebody else up in line that wants to do the job too. That's all part of the interview process. You ask them questions. When can you work? When can you not work? Do you have any
What are we doing right now?
restrictions? We're talking about these two people that we're hiring or potential hires, the application for weed whipping and at the lake and in the city as needed.
Well, and in that case, I don't think they should get paid more than the part-time help that has more experience, I'm assuming, in job. I don't remember his application, but I don't think that they should be paid $15 an hour just because they're walking, and he gets paid $11 an hour while he's mowing. That's
Well-
my opinion.
well,
I'm gonna
he's-
throw it out there.
While he's riding a vehicle, on a vehicle.
It's still hard work.
It's a lot more strenuous to be walking around with a weed whip.
It's still 98 degrees outside and
It
heat
is.
stroke
It is.
potentially.
You're exactly right. It still is.
Okay.
So if you don't want to pay him 15 an hour, that I'm not saying we pay him 15 an hour. I'm just telling you that's what was and offer him 11, and they can say no and come back with another answer.
Okay.
Or we can offer them 13 and they can say no and come back with
So
another
why is
answer.
their pay negotiable but their hours aren't negotiable?
Okay. I say if anytime we hire somebody new, I'm going to put them on some type of probation. I want employees that are going to come to work when we want them to be here and do the job they're paid to do. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't want somebody coming in at 2:00 in the afternoon on Memorial Day or July 4th to go weed whip at the lake. Anybody else think that's okay to just let them come anytime they want?
I don't agree in restricting the hours near to that schedule. I would say if they report to Mike, let them work out with Mike what works for Mike and that individual. But I mean, I follow the logic that it would probably be better to mow earlier in the morning. I don't dispute that at all.
Nobody's arguing that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if they say, well, if we're going to use AJ for an example, well, wait to get over at 8 and, I still have to go back to the city. Well, what if you start at 8:30 and move it out till 11:30? If that's your target, 3 hours a day, then
I think what would be a good meeting in the middle grounds, we could use both ideas here. If Mike is going to be the supervisor, I'm set with Mike. I can put in my 15 hours, this many hours on this day, this day, this day, this day, set that schedule with Mike. And by God, they better be there during those hours. That could be their probation. If you said you're going to be here Monday from 10 to 11, whatever the hours are, and then Monday at 10:15, they're like, oh, I had to, whatever. That proves their worth, their punctuality, their workmanship. I like the idea of letting them set their schedule, but I also like the idea of letting them set advance so that we have
We know when
a
they're
stick.
gonna be there.
Well,
We
that's
have something to measure them by.
what I'm
well, if you
saying.
don't want them working July 4th too, I mean,
I
you
think
tell them
it's
you're not working
communication.
July 4th.
And that's what
Yeah.
Mike can establish with them.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna know too if they're not weed eating. You'll see the weeds.
It's gonna be obvious.
Oh, you can obviously
Just
see them now.
throwing it out there.
Well, if their primary job is the lake, they can always report at the bait house at 8:00. And when they're done, they can tell the bait house, I'm done, I'm leaving. Or
We can't-
if they're going to Eskridge to work, if
Can't
they're
have
finished up there.
Julie as our, am I right? We can't have Julie.
I'm not
They
having-
can't report to Julie.
No, I'm not having, I'm just having her sign in. I'm just having them sign in. I'm not having them say, here I am. Clock me in or whatever you want to call it, but,
Water plan, I don't know.
We've had that.
yeah, they can come in and sign a timesheet. Doesn't have to be. Technically, they should come in here and clock in and out every day too. But we don't do that. So,
I would say I'm kind of with moving on. I would say that I'm kind of with Annie as far as paying them $4 more an hour than what we're already paying our part-time guy that we have now. I would entertain paying them $1 more an hour, making $12 an hour, because I'm sure if you ask George Bennett what he would rather do for 8 hours, sit on a lawnmower or walk around with a weed eater, he's gonna absolutely choose sit on a lawnmower, as I would myself.
Sure.
So there is a little bit more work. So I'm willing to entertain $1 more an hour for the person, but not the 15
how long has George been with us?
since last fall.
So this is his second year.
There's also the point that if you're weed eating, it's probably a better idea to wear jeans, which makes the heat more of an issue. Of course, I see some girl weed eating with her dad around town in shorts all the time. Somebody that you might know. I think she's kin to you.
Hey,
She does a good job, but she does it in shorts. I don't.
Well,
She's tougher than me.
and the thing is, out there at the lake, you know, there's lots of snakes and
Yeah.
stuff that.
Broken beer bottle.
Mhm.
But I still say that let the employee set their time in advance and then stick to it. As long as we have a way to measure that, then that can be their probation, their grading or judging or however you want to word it. And I'm also a fan of the $12 idea. Just a little more than sitting on a mower.
So as far as the applicants go, this is the second time Robin's applied for the part-time position with the city of Eskridge. My concern with AJ Rubio, you know, he's completely active in football and cross country, and once that starts prior to school, and then the second week of August, I don't see how he's going to be able to continue working, is what I'm trying to say. With weights in the morning, school, practice at night. So if
That's a concern of mine as well when it comes to him. But
And I
I
think
wasn't
he's a
going to make a
great kid.
decision on which person to
But
choose.
that leaves just 2 months of work from him, and then we're setting for another 2.5 months of growing season, no weed eating happening.
And I have to agree with that. And like I said, I was not gonna take these two applications and say, I'm gonna pick one and we're gonna deal with it. That's why I'm
Because when
addressing
school
it.
start,
That's why it's out.
August 18th.
because I know the sports and everything start at least a week or so prior to
We
that.
still need it that heavily after that point. I mean, August is pretty dry.
I don't weed eat very often in August or September or October, if at all.
Yeah. Do you really need him to go
How
that
late
much
people
longer?
camp.
Or would that be more ideal?
Through Labor Day.
People camp late. After Labor Day, people want to camp. Not very many, but yes, there are some.
If the grass slows down, you might have him without work anyway.
Well, and quite honestly, my first choice would have been Robin because of what you said about what you two said about AJ and school responsibilities.
Wow. Isn't that to be determined through interview? I don't know his schedule personally.
I agree. I will discuss it with both of them anyway, but if AJ tells me he's in football or some other kind of sport that he's going to not be available for us, and it won't fit into what we need.
Are you interviewing them or do we as council?
I really thought we were going to make a decision on this tonight because it's already
We
gone
can't-
2 months.
But we
without
can't make a
weed eating.
decision without knowing exactly what they're willing to accept for a pay.
Do you want them to come to the next meeting?
We can
I thought you said AJ wanted 15
AJ
and
wanted-
Robin was open, but she would like 15 if that's what it's going
Right,
to be.
but that doesn't mean she'll do the job for 12. You got to find out we can't hire her unless we know she's willing to take it for 12. So somebody's got to talk to her. I can talk to her.
Okay, I'm just now irritated that we have another half a month eating around the fire pits, no weed eating around the bait shop, no weed eating anywhere, and it looks like absolute shit.
I'm silly to this because I don't know. Why do our guys or whoever not weed whip? They mow out there 3 days out of every how many, but they don't weed whip.
The problem is that we've added a lot of fire pits last year and that Jim is finding himself unable to actually get that as well because they've actually added more mowing and the fire pits have to be weed whipped around and the picnic tables have to be moved for mowing. So it's more time intensive than it used to be.
And they don't
we
only,
added trail
What
around
do
the
they do in the
road
winter
for
time for those 3
residents to drive
days
their
that they're
golf
mowing?
carts,
well, they don't only mow,
Winter
like
jobs
they
also.
have
which creates more time.
I know, but
the
it's
water
not
plant.
the same stuff, right? That is there. I'm being facetious. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. 'cause
Roundup.
my thing is, he mows, and I haven't got to talk to him myself. I haven't asked him. I was just told that he mows about 3 days. Every time he mows, it takes him 3 days. So if he mows 3 days every 10 days, I don't know how many times that is over a 4 or 5 month period. What are they doing for those 3 days in the winter? Because we're not pushing snow 3 days every 10 days all winter. We're not weed whipping for a day every 10 days in the winter. So why are we so more busy in the summer that we cannot weed whip and mow than we are in the winter? What more work is there at the water plant in the winter than there is in the summer? So why are we hiring outside people to do the jobs that our people were hired for? Explain it to me, because I don't know. I don't work with them, so I don't know, but that just seems weird.
Todd has his hand up for
Jim
comment.
Weir
Hold
is
up.
Go ahead, Todd, sorry. I talked too long.
8 hours.
Well,
And water plant.
here's a suggestion on how to operate. You know, you guys have spent a little time here talking about people wearing shorts, weed whipping, and not that that's not important, but there should be a methodology for how you deal with these things, because it's taking too long doing this. I'll be honest with you. And what you got to do is you got to authorize the people who you have in charge of these departments to hire them people, give you a recommendation, and it's a one-person recommendation. This is the person. Here's their qualifications. I want to hire them at this amount. And you guys say yes or no. You don't. You're micromanaging. You got 5 people here micromanaging a kid for weed whipping.
Yep.
That's not how this is not how you're gonna be able to operate. So designate the mayor.
And ruling somebody out from personal.
Well, yes.
For personal.
Well, you say no to the person they recommend. That's your authority. But you give them the discretion to basically have this thing be a one-shot deal. Come in with a person, here's who I recommend, this is the hourly rate, approve or disapprove.
So then Terry comes in at the next meeting and does that?
I can do it right now.
Do it right now.
Alright.
I'm gonna propose that we hire Robin to do this work at the rate of $13 an hour. That's my proposal. Here again, it's a yes or no vote.
Yeah, they gotta move to hire him for that level or
I
not?
move that we accept the proposal to hire Robin, but for $12 an hour is my motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve hiring Robin to do weed whipping at both Lake Wabunsee and within the city of Eskridge for $12 an hour by Tim and seconded by Brett. You have a question?
Yeah, I don't know the legalities here. If she doesn't accept 12,
You've only authorized 12.
Yeah.
then we have to wait 2 weeks.
Yep.
Okay.
You can do it one of 2 ways. Give the mayor more power, discretion in setting the hourly rate to get the person in, or if that's the other side of it. You know, it's just a measure of how much power you're going to give the person who's hiring.
Well, that's why I'm thinking I want to be a little looser than hard. Can I withdraw my motion at this point?
Well, I
Since it's
mean,
been seconded?
no offense, but I mean, you've already given up your position. So
Yeah,
you're saying,
You negotiated that pitch.
I know.
yeah, I mean, you're saying what you're willing to do. And if you say, well, I'll give you
Okay.
leeway up to 13, it's on the record that,
Yeah, you're right.
I don't know. I'm just,
Yeah, that's.
All right, I
that's
guess
why
we
you-
have to have a vote.
Well, we're in the discussion phase of this motion right now anyway, are we not? So during the discussion, could that motion not be withdrawn?
It could be in the withdrawal of the second if they want to increase it, but I think Justin's point is valid. Unless they leave it completely open-ended, they're setting the price one way or the other. Meaning the mayor's discretion. That's the only one I can see.
So you could do at the mayor's discretion not to exceed $14 an hour,
Well,
not
then
to
you
exceed
might be
$13.
setting it 14.
Yeah. Then they're gonna get paid $14 an hour.
No, because I'm not gonna approach them for 14. If you told me the maximum was 20, I'm not gonna say, hey, we'll give you 20. I'm not gonna do that.
That's what it's
I'm all
on.
about service.
Yeah, but, well, I mean, it is the motion that's up to you
Let's
guys.
have a vote and move on.
I would just propose giving Terry discretion over that. I mean, even if you know, I don't know. I mean, you're not gonna do anything wild, but even if you did, it's not that many hours. I mean,
Well, they both indicated that $15 was a target,
yeah.
but I think we could probably get Robin for 13. I don't know if we can get her for 12, but if you tell me not to exceed 13, then I'll offer her 12.
Just rather do discretion.
I'll second it if you wanna.
So do you withdraw your motion?
I withdraw my motion.
Do you withdraw your second?
I'll withdraw my second.
Now we're open again.
I would propose to offer Robin the job.
Make a motion.
Yes.
Yeah, that is my motion. And propose giving Terry discretion as to the pay.
See,
I'm not gonna do that.
Just giving you discretion.
He's just giving you full discretion.
Public meeting, Terry, so he's trying not to put the number out.
gotcha. Okay, that's fine.
Somewhere between that and $1 million an hour.
All right. Fair enough.
Okay. Is there a second? Was there a second? I didn't hear it.
I'll second.
Okay.
You got all that straight? We jumped
Yeah.
around a bit.
I do.
Okay.
I
All right.
really-
To give the mayor discretion to hire Robin and the fee to be determined, is that correct? Can we put it that way or just? And then, would you guys like for me to, and we have a seconder on that, so any further discussion? Those in favor? The yeas have it, in favor has it 5-0. And I will, if you guys would like, once that commitment's been completed, you want an email?
Yes.
An email.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll send you an email and tell you what her answer was. And then it's up to me to decide what day she starts.
And then just return
I'll get with
the
Mike in the
number.
morning anyway on
Yeah,
that.
I'm in favor of starting today.
Okay,
But quick point, I was serious when I said I'm in favor of weed eating around the fire rings with Roundup.
Mike discussed earlier tonight that one of the things the guys are gonna be doing is was gonna be spraying chemical along the dam to get rid of the trees that are growing in there, which are very detrimental to dams. We have to get that out. And I'm sure we can use that same stuff around.
When was our last dam inspection?
It was about a year ago, was it
Nope,
2 years ago?
It was, I have a letter up there. It was like this year maybe, or maybe last year.
It's been pretty recent, I thought,
Yes,
but
it was very recent.
So to get back on track, yes, I would like you to add that to the around fire rings.
yeah, that'd be a lot easier.
But
Yeah.
a little, not 5 feet.
Yes, 6 inches around them. They can
I was
mow,
thinking
they
the
can mow
same
that
thing,
close. If
Okay.
you feel the need to point that out, then
All right, I'll discuss all that with her and I'll discuss it with Mike as
we
well.
don't want a mud pit around it.
Okay, next item, clerk substitute application.
So I kind of brought this up that it's kind of been hard to find people to come in to sub on a whim. So I said that I would have Sam, who is interested, fill out an application. This is it.
Sam Kidd?
She has all the flags on K4.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's great.
They're good.
She's
She is.
She's
She
a
is.
really nice lady.
She is.
However, we still have Connie. And
Absolutely.
she has filled in, and Carrie will still do it on a Friday.
Yes.
So
only
we'll call
thing I-
her first.
Yes. The
on days
only
that she
thing that
can.
I had brought up last time is Connie is requesting that if she works, she should work for $15 an hour. So
Right, and
guys
we
want
only pay
to-
Carrie 11
yes.
something an hour, and she's been here longer than any other person.
Yes, she's been here for 16 years. By the way. Just gonna
Right.
throw that out there.
And she just got that raise last year, right?
Yes.
Because it was 7
Yep.
something an hour.
So I guess I don't have the authority to call Connie if she wants to come in and work.
Because of the $15 an
Right.
hour.
But
And what did Sam get paid, did she say? She didn't say.
no, she could just do it as needed, which is super important to me because
Yeah.
as you know, when I have a sick kiddo and I get to work and the babysitter calls me, it's like,
got to go.
Your kid is getting sick.
Just write that down.
Ish.
Yeah.
Well, just
Be a little more.
so that we don't get ourselves in a pickle, like I will move to accept Miss Kid's application, and then we can discuss price with her. She didn't discuss price at all. She didn't
No.
say 15.
She
10.
just said, I can cover for you whenever you need me to, which I will. So she's great. I think she'll.
So in comparison, how proficient are these three people as a clerk? As Connie, as Carrie, and as Sam would be?
They're all great.
They're all great.
Mhm.
And are they deserving of the same pay that you get?
That's your guys's.
That's your opinion. I'm looking for an opinion here.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
Let's try to put her over.
No, not really.
Yeah,
Yes, it is. It is.
Not
Very
really.
much so.
Actually, I'm putting a spot on you guys. I don't think a part-time employee doing this work gets paid lesser. Why would we pay them less if they're just as proficient as she is?
I know.
But we
And
didn't
there
ask
is
her if they're
some-
just as proficient as her. We
She
just
has
asked
years
her
of
if they're
experience
proficient.
of,
and there are
40
some
hours a
things
week
that
and-
they don't do. I will say that there are some tasks that they obviously don't do that I take care of when they get back. The majority of the tasks
See,
that they
and
do
all that plays into how much you
And
pay.
training.
That's what we're
are-
going with.
entering, you know,
So if
bills
you,
into
if
the
you
system,
got,
stuff
if you
like
got $15 an hour, it wouldn't be fair to pay them 16, obviously. Right? And likewise, 15, and they don't do everything you do, then 15 is too much. So it's gotta be a lower pay. I'm just trying to get a feel for what would be an appropriate pay. I think Carrie's been around for 15 years and she's only getting $11.50 an hour still.
And I will say now Carrie she has been trained on everything. So as far as that goes, I mean, she was here
The only problem
when I
with
was on
Carrie is that
maternity
she's not
leave
available as needed,
right now.
and Sam is.
Yeah.
And Connie's not really available as needed either, is she?
She doesn't like to do multiple dates in a row.
There you
So
go.
it's just kind of like
Yeah.
when we,
So that kind
We're
of
in a
eliminates
pickle,
two
she
people
can-
right off the bat.
Well, if I might add,
Yes.
I am impressed with Sam Kidd's past employment. HR manager, program manager. You know, she's done many different things in administration and working with the public and
I mean, if this is just me throwing this out there, Carrie's at 11. A lot of part-time people started at 11. If you wanted to do that starting point, or you wanted to go a little bit less, I could talk to Sam or whoever. I think she would have a problem with it.
Can we just move to hire right now?
Yeah.
Is that what
Yeah.
you did with the accepting the
Well, I was
application?
just moving to move forward, talking to Sam and accepting her application as one of the 3 fill-in positions.
That'd be great.
And then-
Exactly.
Add
She's
up
just
to
an
11.50.
additional person, you know. It's not like the others are going away. You know what I mean?
I still do have a problem with paying both of them the same as what we pay Carrie, since she's trained on everything and does everything, and they're limited to what they're trained on and does. But that almost makes me want to bump Carrie's pay up and start them at 11.
Well, we are talking about raises. Can we just bundle Carrie into this employee pay? She's an employee. Can we not?
You guys can do whatever you
So
want.
we can make this decision and then move on to that one.
Do the part-timers.
Or we can talk about that when we go into executive session, raising her pay as well at that time. Because we're gonna talk about employee pay raises, I think, right?
What is it?
Agree, by the way. I think 11 is
Yeah.
pretty
So we're
low
gonna
for
offer her
for
11,
that. But
we're gonna offer her a
Barely gets you a
position.
gallon of gas today.
yeah.
Yeah.
At the same time, I don't agree with paying the same wage as what Stephanie's making now. It's
I agree with
just
that.
because of
entirely.
less scope of duties and
That's
not
my point,
responsible
that's my
for
point
it,
exactly.
not
Paying
bonded.
what they're capable of doing.
Yep.
And that's why you have
Somewhere
evaluations
in
once a year.
between those two places.
They know that they can always.
Yeah, we
vote
have
at
a
the end of the
motion.
day. We have a motion. We have a motion.
Do we have a motion?
We do have a motion. Brett,
I second it.
What was his motion, please?
to accept the application.
Of Sam.
Of Sam Kidd.
And to put her in the pile with the other two substitutes.
So you want me to contact her and offer her the $11 an hour, see if she'll accept the position, is that right?
Absolutely.
Department head can do that.
Okay, all right.
I can do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Get her in there,
Stephanie's
start learning her some training.
Great.
And she'll be great.
Yeah.
I have no worries.
I'm going to adjourn.
That's a motion.
We need
need
to
a
vote on
vote.
this one. Dang it.
Okay,
We cannot before the dots.
We have a motion to offer the position of clerk substitute to Sam Kidd at $11 an hour. And we have a seconded by Michelle. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay,
Thanks, guys.
approved. 5-0.
I hope that works well for you.
I started working Friday mornings.
Okay, let's talk about Patrick, 102 Prairie View Drive, dock board for board repair.
This is on here because I made a little mistake. It was supposed to be on the last meeting. But it is what it is. It's a board for board repair.
I will say that I was in the office when Mr. Patrick came in and he was wanting to do that. He thought it was gonna be approved at the last one. It was not, so he waited 2 weeks, then he was gonna have to wait another 3 weeks. So I decided to play public officer and go out there and measure the dock for him and do all of that. And it's all within the measurements required. It's actually less than our maximum 20 by 24. So with that being said, since I'm the one that and measured it, I'll move to approve his board for board repair.
Second.
Go for
Pizza.
Okay, we have a motion to approve Patrick's board for board replacement, and we have a second.
You're in the audience. You
Michelle.
can't judge.
Any further discussion on that?
The further discussion on that would be and until we hire a public officer, if I see something on there, I'm gonna be going and measuring this stuff myself.
Thanks for volunteering.
Well, I don't want them to be postponed half of months.
So that's
because
the
we
other
don't have
thing.
somebody.
We're getting a
So-
lot of doc applications for the next meeting, just FYI, so.
Yay.
Well, you know,
New docs?
I do go out to the lake a lot.
no new.
I'll send them to you guys
Grounded.
tomorrow.
You
And if
probably gotta
anyone
send me
wants
a
to
text
go-
that says it's there.
Okay.
'Cause I check my email every other Monday.
I'll do that.
All right,
Do you guys
next.
have a vote?
No.
No.
All in,
Last I asked for was further discussion. Is there any
Right.
further discussion? Okay, those in favor? Approved, 5-0. Okay.
I don't know.
Next one is the handicap ramp at the library. There's nobody
Oh,
here.
sorry.
This is
I thought we
Andy.
had another doc.
This is Andy.
So some citizens brought up the fact that there's no, sorry.
Sign.
Everybody, no, it's not the sign I'm as concerned with. It's that there's no grid or handicap grid on the road in front of the handicap ramp by the library. And oftentimes we have people park there,
Mhm.
and they recently had somebody drive up onto the sidewalk,
That was interesting.
and it was a little frightening for the people that were standing there. I actually,
Did they just not know the curb was missing? That's fine.
Yeah.
no, I just think they were very uncautious with their parking,
yeah.
but they shouldn't be parking there anyway because the ramp should be cleared. So in the parking space area should be the handicap. I'm trying to type and speak. I had it pulled up and then I Googled something else in the meeting. Sorry. Handicap ramp. Grid, I think is what they call
I might be able to save y'all a bit of time. I've followed that email trail on Facebook, and I took it upon myself to call the director of the ADA for the state of Kansas. His name is Anthony Fadale, Fadale. And we had several interactions of emails back and forth. And when I mentioned that our downtown area there is a state highway that runs right through our downtown. When I mentioned state highway, he says, well, that's a little bit different story now. And that it's possible, but it's possible that the Department of Transportation, as well as the Department of Justice, would want to look at our city and determine if we need handicap ramps, which we're going to need, we're going to have, but the possibility exists that that gets paid for by them and not the business owner, nor does it get paid by the city.
Wow.
So I'm waiting on that information. I'm sorry I don't have anything further. I got an email late this afternoon from Stephen Gillespie, who is the chief EEO for ADA Department of Transportation for the state of Kansas, and he wants me to call him tomorrow.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to arrange for them to come out here and walk around the city, just like the people from Wabunsee County did when it came down about these grants that we have a possibility of getting. So cross your fingers, business owners. It looks like there might be a possibility that somebody else is going to pay for this. If not, then the ownership responsibility will fall on the business owners.
We did this 20 years ago when the city didn't get in trouble, but the state boys got in trouble because they were removing snow and piling it in the middle, and then we would come along and remove the snow pile. And somebody took a picture of it and they called it cooperation of the state with the city. And so then the state boys got in trouble. I'll ask Jeff Roman, it might have been 20 years ago. They had to quit doing that, and that's when at that time they said we were responsible for the parking, and which I hope this is true and you can get it changed.
Well, let me just interrupt if I may, just for a quick brief. The most recent update to ADA guidelines occurred in 2016. So we're only 6 years old on that. The one prior to that was 2012, and there's stipulations as to whether responsibility for businesses that were there prior to 2012, if they are exempt from the 2016 regulations, or if they have to update at that point, or do they update whenever there's repairs that are needed?
Well, and I
So-
wondered if that's why we got the special highway fund. It's because they stopped taking care of the sidewalk, the
How long
parking
ago?
areas.
How long ago was it that the state came in and redid that strip on downtown? How long ago was it? I mean, it's been recently. 4
Yeah,
years, 5
4
years.
or 5 years.
At that time, did they not also put handicap ramps at the intersections?
No,
No,
we did that.
the city of Eskridge did that.
Yeah. The city's responsible.
But that-
has been
back-
responsible.
We put the handicap ramps in at the corners of the streets.
When you speak to those people, make sure you remind them it's two.
That one in
Yeah,
front of the
no, you
library
got
wasn't
to.
paid for by the library. I doubt. they
Well,
did
I'm
that.
just saying, so
I
we were the
doubt
ones responsible
It's nice. We
Because
just
it was
redid
for
it.
the concrete that's now eroding that building.
Probably.
Well, at
Well,
this
I
point,
don't
I'm
know.
not asking for a sign because I know that's a lot of work with the concrete. If we can, and obviously you're finding out information, but if that's a big no, is there a way that we could mark that off so people don't park on it anymore? That would be nice.
Well,
But
there
you can
are
obviously
specific guidelines that have to be met if you designate a spot as a handicap
And I'm not
parking.
asking you to designate a handicap parking spot. I'm just asking the ramp to be.
We can put a stripe out
No
there, but it's,
Stripes on
But-
the highway or something?
I don't know. I don't think we can do that. That's my point. And that's another reason I'd like for somebody to physically come out and see what we've got. Show them where we are. Show them the only accessible place a handicapped person has now, other than that ramp in front of the library, is to wheel their chair all the way down to one of the intersections and come up the ramp.
Well, and our delivery
there's a
people
ramp.
have to use that ramp too. I mean, it serves a purpose.
It absolutely serves a purpose.
Okay, we'll wait and see
Okay.
what you find out.
So
That'd be
let's-
great.
Let's move on. If you guys are willing to allow me to wait, allow to wait until I get answers. And as I get updates, with your permission, I'll email everybody. Is that okay?
Sounds great.
fine.
Thank you.
All right. So hopefully that can answer some of the questions for people that might come into your store, Dolly, and ask questions, or I happen to see you guys on the street. That I am looking into it, and I'll keep you posted. I'll keep you posted on all the updates that I get. Okay. And I'm going to table this also to the next meeting so we can at least get it. We should know answers by then for sure. Okay. Okay. Next thing is the sidewalk at 411 Cedar. Somebody want to tell me about that?
Yeah, this is kind of a complaint. A tree is making her sidewalk come up. I was gonna talk to Mike about it and I just haven't. So I don't know if you guys want to talk to him, go and see it, kind of table this for the next meeting.
I went and saw it.
Did you?
It is the one piece of section is being popped up by the tree, but the rest of the sidewalk in front of the place is in decent shape, especially comparable to other sidewalks in town.
Is the tree in the right of way?
I don't know.
It is in the easement, yes.
Well, I mean,
Because it's on this side of the sidewalk closest to the street, so it would
does
be
the
the
person, does
city's.
this person know that if we repair the sidewalk or fix that, that's gonna be assessed against them? City code says they pay for the cost.
They probably don't know that.
No, I'm sure she doesn't know that.
You might wanna communicate that to her first.
I think a letter's gonna have to be sent because these are deaf folks and we don't have an interpreter here.
And she did ask about that, so be aware that that's something that we might have to have in a meeting if she has to come to a meeting. She did request that.
Let me correct myself. Does anybody in here know sign language?
No, but we
Anybody?
have
Okay.
people in town that we could ask
Yeah, I know
come in
you
to help us. I mean, our former mayor Payday
if you would be willing
is
to come
one.
in. If you were to come in, we have to provide an interpreter if somebody comes in and
I know.
just under the ADA guidelines, I read that too. All right. So, we're going to I'll get with Mike in the morning and we'll talk about that tree and have it looked at. Even if he and I both go up there at the same time, we'll go look at it. And then, we'll get back with the council at the next meeting as well, okay? Wow. Not like extending that one too. Okay, next thing on the agenda is 74 Lakeview Circle dock permit request.
This is something that was already approved. He had some trouble with the builders and such. He's barely over his 6 months. He just is asking for an extension.
He doesn't have two docks, right?
It's already been approved.
It's expired though.
It's expired. Right, that's why he's asking for an
So we wouldn't
extension.
have
It was
approved
approved
it
in
if it-
October. And he is
That's
trying
not
to
right,
be
because
by
of
the
us.
book, so,
I'm sorry, he what?
is trying to be by the book. He was just barely over when he
Ask
called.
that question every time, so.
And I did see that, but I just didn't get the if he had two docks. I didn't have the information to do it. But
No.
I mean, I looked at it, so I'll move to approve it.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve an extension for Esquivel and a second. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Those opposed?
Because I don't know what I'm looking at. Is this a new dock that they're building or fixing up an old dock? What is this?
It's just one dock that they're adding a second layer to it.
Oh.
Yeah.
We approved it like last
Yeah.
Christmas time.
Approved 4-1.
And I know that I
October.
would have been for it, but it doesn't matter.
Okay, is Debater Concrete and retaining wall all part of the same thing?
No, it's not. They're two.
Okay, so Debater Concrete's up next.
So I talked to Josh DeVader today, and with all the rain that we've had, he's pushing doing the sidewalks and the curbs back 2 months.
Couldn't
So,
go with the playground at this
It'll
point.
be around August, beginning of August, middle of August, somewhere around in there when he's gonna be able to get to it because of that. The second thing is he's going to have to figure in more money because of the cost of concrete that has tripled since he did the bid.
Mm.
So
They don't honor their bid that they
Yeah.
gave us.
That's kind of messed up.
That's just wrong.
Well, but what's the agreement between?
That's, Coldy did the same thing on
yeah,
his-
Coldy's bid is 10,000 more this year than it was last year.
And he said at the time that he can actually do the work, it may be even more still.
But he said that we never
It's in the
actually
bid.
got back with him, whereas we've already agreed to Josh's
We have agreed
contract.
to Josh's contract,
Or
but
bid.
I mean,
That's the contract,
That's
isn't it?
his,
I mean, what does the contract say? I
we just accepted his
accepted his bid.
proposal.
Yeah.
What does the proposal say he's gonna do it for?
$29,000 or $31,000, somewhere around there, and he's estimating the increase to be around $3,300 to $3,500. So it's not gonna be like $10,000 more, or $5,000 more, it's gonna be less than that.
Well, you guys decide on that, but I haven't seen the
Well, we could
agreement.
need it
What
on
you
paper,
accepted?
cause I don't wanna just do a verbal.
Well, no, we're not
We're not doing
discussing
that
any of that now. He will get us back the new
Okay.
estimates and it will come back to us. I just wanted to let everybody know there is gonna be a slight price increase, and that's just for the concrete square foot, because he bid us $7, which was low anyway.
And this body has not accepted any proposed increase.
Right, we have not, but I'm
Talk
just
about it later.
making,
We're just
yes,
bringing it up.
and
Okay.
letting you know that it's delayed 2 months.
Okay.
Now,
That's for the benefit of those invest.
So, moving on to the retaining wall, boat dock bid for Colby. Does everybody have that?
Yeah,
And you're
on the
looking at
debater thing.
there is about a $10,000 difference from the bid last year. Everybody read it, so you know that he can do the one short wall now, and the retaining wall for the beach is going to have to be at a different time. I'm not sure why, because it's the same depth of water everywhere. Why you can't do both? But
Not really the case.
what do you mean?
Well, the wall between the boat dock and the boat ramp is against the shoreline. The other one is not. It's out in the water. Both sides of the wall are out in the water. That's the difference. But anyway, go ahead. It's a moot point.
So anyway, the new bid is like 50 grand.
If you look at the very back page, everybody, the two paragraphs that are underlined, look at right there in the very middle of the top paragraph, first word, very, very back page, where it says price will have to be looked at again when the lake level allows this work to proceed. Yes. And the price isn't gonna go down between now and August or September. So keep that in mind. With that, I move to approve.
So we're signing an agreement that says that he can increase the price.
I move to approve the boat ramp area retaining wall. I move to approve them separately. Sorry.
Well, we got, yeah, you can do it that way.
We need to wait to
Got
see.
one motion.
Correct.
So your motion was to approve both of them.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
With a total of $50,788, just to.
But that's not the total. The total
That's
is adjustable.
open-ended, I mean-
Currently, excuse me, gosh, stop lawyering me to death.
That's all I got left.
We have a motion to approve both projects with an open-ended amount.
How do we do that? Do we put a cap on it?
I think you can approve. I think Brett, that's probably a good idea that you approve the one he's gonna do now. He's gonna time that pretty much locks in your price.
He's back.
The
That's
boat
it.
ramp wall, I don't feel like is nearly as important as the swim beach retaining wall. And my concern is, I know that we need them both, but my concern is we're gonna spend money on the one wall and not get the wall that we really, really need.
Well, the wall that we really, really need isn't assured to get done this year at all. This wall is assured to get done.
That's true.
I just don't want to have them, because literally tripling, quadrupling, how long is this gonna go? And when they're ready to do that, it's suddenly $25,000 more because concrete is now $15 instead of the $7 that he's quoting.
So just a quick question to maybe solve it. Do we have to accept their bid as this is written right now?
No.
Or can we just wait until they come back with the correct amount when they're ready to do it? Or do we have to commit? That's what I'm
No.
asking.
Well, you guys control the offer. This is a counter offer.
You can always do it not to exceed, but I don't know. We talked about that earlier.
Well, no, I'm just
You know
saying.
what the ceiling is.
Yeah, but that's not,
Because
yeah.
we're just guessing that.
We don't have a proposed bid for separation. at this
Well,
point.
what you can do is you're basically not accepting the bid, you're counter offering. You're saying, we're offering you, based on your thing, we're offering you first paragraph. That's it. And we'll tell you, we're still in the second paragraph, that we need a better, when you can do it, when you get closer to do it, we know the price.
Vice versa.
Tell us.
Yeah.
You tell us it. It's not off the table, it's just, you're not gonna accept an open-ended price term.
I withdraw my motion.
I have a question about the swim beach. How much time is it gonna take to repair the swim beach? Do you have any idea? In other words, we're gonna have to close the swim beach while this work's being done. So when we really don't want to shut the beach down between now and.
People aren't using it now
People
anyway.
don't use
Now,
it.
there is no beach.
They're going over underneath the tree that's outside of. the
Just
beach
today,
area.
nobody was at the beach there on the other side of the tree
Of
where
the
all the
tree.
Still
sand
people
washed.
using it. It's just we'll do what we have to do, I think. Whether people want it done, I think they'll understand.
We're not gonna slow down
Absolutely.
any swimmers by closing down the beach.
And really, we're closing it at what, the lowest water point, so it shouldn't affect our swimming that much. Usually people can't swim about that time because
Water
it's
be
too
cold.
hot. Is it cold weather when we're
No.
doing this or hot
No,
weather?
you're right, I'm sorry.
It'll be too hot and usually it starts breeding bacteria and then they tell you to stop swimming in the lakes. So at that point, I think it's a moot thing. We don't need to really worry about the swimming. But I guess
And that's fair enough. I just wondered if
Right.
we're gonna have to shut it down or
I
not.
guess in my experience with the construction, is he not going to commit because we won't commit to this price right now? Is my question. Like, will he even come back with a bid when
Meaning
it's
if
time?
we accepted the
He's
lower
not gonna-
17 and left the 33
Yeah.
open,
But he's
will
not
he-
gonna do it anyway.
No,
I mean, he's not mobilizing.
but it's I don't know. With a bandstand in my own house, they want the commitment like right now, regardless if the price changes. Because I've had price go up on mine already.
He probably wouldn't have separated it though if he didn't think. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Well,
Your
because
request
they
is
fully
that-
expect that one problem, at least, I'm speaking for them and maybe I shouldn't. I think they are under the understanding that probably the one is going to get done this year and maybe the other one isn't with all the rain that's happening. If we have a lot of rain at the end of the summer and it keeps it full, then the retaining wall ain't gonna, I mean, obviously they said that it ain't gonna happen if it's,
Yeah.
but this other one they can get to.
I mean, if they can just come back with a new bid and we can approve it then I say we approve the boat ramp and move on.
Sounds fair to me.
So I don't know. Can
we
you
can,
verify that for us?
Mhm.
Okay.
In the meantime,
They will give
we
us-
can
So
agree informally that we're in favor of doing the swim beach
Yeah.
retaining wall. I
we
mean, that-
want it,
I
but
think
can
we
they
can
come
make
back
that
when
right somewhere in the minutes.
It's not like some, like
And they have
Colton,
the
it's just some business out there in the ether either. He's a guy that we all know.
Yeah,
So
we,
yeah,
we intend to
we
do
can't
this,
approve a number we don't
barring
know.
some kind of,
as a city council.
Okay, so we're gonna table this to the June 27th meeting and hopefully you'll have that new bid.
Well, I think
I
we
see
can.
what you're
Actually,
saying.
no, I still move to approve the boat
And I
ramp area
second
retaining wall
his motion.
at $17,610.
Okay. So we have a motion to accept the bid of the boat ramp for $17,610 and seconded by Tim. Any further discussion on that? Those in favor? The ayes have it.
And then do I need to move to table the swim beach retaining wall until I talk to them or just let it
If
go?
that's inherent in the motion, you did approve that. So
Okay,
that's what's on.
Yes.
I will
Just a minute.
contact them tomorrow.
Okay, so
Actually, let me
Stephanie,
just stop there.
I'm really sorry. I'm not trying to throw a kink in any chain by any means. I did have someone come into City Hall. They wanted it to be known. They may have talked to you, Tim. They just wanted me to say when we were talking about this that they never think that a retaining wall is going to do anything because any cove you go into, like the back concrete wall was there to keep the water in or something. So we're always going to have an erosion problem. Was there
We didn't have the erosion problem.
I don't know,
we had
they
now
just,
with the
he
retaining wall.
wanted me to say it, and he couldn't make it to the meeting, so I said I would.
You also had different plans for the wall we just approved. That I
Okay.
might- Probably better off sitting through this long to tell us.
Yeah, if you want to. No, I mean, well, I can sign that.
So we're tabling.
all right. So, okay, so we approved the boat ramp and we're tabling the other for more information, not necessarily the 27th. We're gonna talk about it on the 27th.
I can have the information by the
Okay, then
27th.
we'll table that section to the 27th. Another thing to add to our list. Okay, now we're under mayor council concerns or comments. Anybody have anything,
I have a
council?
few real quick things since the people are gonna come in town and do odd jobs or whatever.
On the 26th.
We need some goods at the bait house. If they're gonna paint, we need to make sure Julie gets enough rollers, brushes. They're gonna send 5 or 6 people out there. Each person should have a roller, a brush.
They're bringing their own.
Are they?
That was-
She-
I was not, I was told they're not gonna bring.
I was told the same thing.
Oh, I was told twice that they're bringing their own stuff.
Well, let's
It
get
depends
rollers.
on what it is, I think, for paint and stuff. He told me for painting the
I
bait
think it's
shop.
the tools they have available.
And she did get some.
That's what I asked. I said,
She got some
I
stuff.
saw only one of each. I
Okay.
wanna make sure she has
I thought the
enough
same
for
thing, and
6
I was at
people
their
to
meeting.
be armed, get the job done with, and I'm gonna try to go out there a day before the power rush.
Julie, 6 people.
We are painting over rotten wood, just so everybody knows. The soffits are all rotten. They're falling off in places, so.
Also,
Thank you.
I would like a cheap little flagpole stand for Julie to get put on the bait house. Just put one,
Put it
Alan's
on the
still
bait.
there.
You want to just
Alan's still there.
I want
Open
to
the door.
No, I know.
Take
They'll all
the
sleep
flag
when
down.
I really
I asked the question.
We need a sign on all those dumpsters, no fish. Almost every camp has painted on every dumpster,
I'm gonna go
no
read it
fish.
now. We're gonna talk.
I don't know if Exodus will let us do that, but
I want to ask them, yeah, of course.
Would you like to send it down?
You are.
Yes, I'll email them to you. Also, I think we should have a sign at the center that says the campers only.
Yep.
Hey, but the person I caught throwing their junk.
I should have.
And I'm watching their truck go by like this. So he finally
You know, it's
stopped
a-
and came up and talked
It's
to me.
always in there.
Oh, no, we're bringing it down.
Is that legal? What I just did? I think you know it's not. He walked all the way back over there and took his trash.
Yeah, Mary Jane said she saw about a half dozen people after the holiday throwing their trash in. Some people had 9 bags of trash and they completely filled up all of our dumpsters and just overflowing to where they were putting it all around the dumpsters because there was so much. And she went out and told every one of them.
and I was gonna say, I think some people may have actually not been aware because after we talked about this in the council meeting, someone came into City Hall and they said, well, we have a VRBO and we've been throwing our trash away. Isn't it the same thing? And I said, actually, it's not because they didn't realize that LWID did the trash at residence and it's a whole different company. And so they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
That's why I think we need
So
a
then
sign
they
over
were like-
there. For
And that's why the
campers,
people that
use
rent the VRBOs need to make sure that they're telling their clients. That's their responsibility.
Right.
Because otherwise they're.
I move to adjourn.
No, we have an executive.
Got executive session.
Remember, we got an executive session.
You can write it down. Vivian.
it?
I move to leave.
5 minutes. I don't
I
know.
think,
Well,
yeah, you
I don't
can.
know. We can table it, but I don't. I just hate to do it. We've been kicking the can for a while, but.
We were waiting.
You weren't here 2 weeks ago.
For Carrie.
This package for you references
Oh.
what you're referring to.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you want to table it to next week, we can. There's nothing that says we can't retroact the pay raise.
Yeah.
Because we approve it on June 1st doesn't mean we can't say effective April 1st.
Yeah, that's
Or
true.
whatever payday that we can come up with.
What a saving comment.
Well, I don't know. I moved to table, employee table.
Second.
You need to move to table the executive session. So
Oh, yeah, table the executive session for employee pay.
Session next meeting. Okay.
Okay, and then that was approved. We're looking at June 27th on that, and now we have a motion to adjourn.
Oh, wait.
It was not
We
approved.
didn't
Sorry,
vote.
That
I'm
was not
sorry.
approved.
He's an ice
I'm
cream.
being dishonest.
Justin
Those in
made a
You
favor?
gotta pick that
motion.
speed up
Did you-
way earlier, Terry. Come on.
Hold a vote. Those in favor?
Those in favor? All
Okay.
right, we're adjourned.
Okay,
Move to adjourn.
A second.
It's already-
okay, so
it's
we're
already
waiting
voted.
on Carrie's pay ray that we just said we were gonna do at the end of this, another half a month.
Yeah.
Do what?
she's
Who's?
working right now, is she?
Whose?
But if she does,
If she does, we can.
Carrie,
If we retroactive to a certain date, yes, and everybody
Is that
that
your
works
water?
between now and the time we approve this gets paid from
so she
whatever.
works this Friday and then she doesn't get paid till when?
3 times.
That's not,
She's not working on Friday, but yeah. I mean, I know what you're saying, yeah.
Vote 3 more.
Is that your water?
everybody still gets their current rate of pay until we approve a pay raise. And it's effective on the date we approve it, not the date that we approve it, on a date that we set for it to be.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
It's kind of like contracts with union organizations, you know, they always wait
Dust coming off
anywhere
her
from
feet.
3 to 6 months or even a year to approve a pay raise for contract workers, and then they make it retroactive to the expiration of the last contract. Same thing. I mean, we don't have contracts with the employees. Look that over. If you got any questions,
Are they?
call
you
me.
want
I can
these back?
talk. That packet I gave you?
Yeah. do you
No,
want-